Good morning, everyone. Today is December 12th, 2024. I will begin by calling our meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Ruby, may we get verification of legal notice?
Yes, everything has been properly noticed.
Thank you. Moving on, we will look to approve our minutes from the November 14th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. If there's any discussion or motion on that item. Commissioner Zoller has motion to accept, and we have a second from Commissioner Hess. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We will now give the public opportunity to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. If you have any concern that you would like to bring to the Commission's attention, now would be your time. And if you are attending via Zoom, please raise your hand if you're wanting to speak, and we will unmute you and give you the opportunity to speak. Okay, no hands in the Zoom room for public input. I will officially close public input, and we will bring up our first timed item at 9:05. Time now is 9:02. Time now is 9:05. We will bring up our first timed item. This is a public hearing that is continued from October 10th, 2024 for consideration of a major use permit, UP 21-07, and mitigative negative declaration, IS 21-07, for commercial cannabis cultivation, including 2 A-Type 3 outdoor commercial cannabis cultivation licenses and 1 Type 13 self-distribution transport-only license. Applicant 17870 Little High Valley Road, LLC, Mark McDonald. Location is 17870 Little High Valley Road, Lower Lake, California. APN 012-061-03. Good morning, staff.
Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Chair. My name is Mary Claiborne. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department, and today for your consideration is UP 21-07, IS 21-07, Little High Valley. The applicant and consultant are both present in chambers this morning, and there have been green sheets received for this project. As the chair had mentioned, this hearing is a continuance of the original hearing, which had occurred on October 10th, 2024. The item was heard by the Planning Commission. Public comment provided for new information to be considered at that time. A continuation of the project was scheduled to a date and time certain, which is today's date, at 9:05 a.m. to allow staff to address the public concerns specific to water use, roadway improvements, pesticides, and security concerns. Public comment as of that hearing date, October 10th, 2024, was received and is attachment 10 to staff's report. The permit request consists of a major use permit for 2 A-Type 3 medium outdoor commercial cannabis cultivation licenses consisting of 87,120 square feet of canopy area within 90,620 square feet cultivation area and 1 Type 13 distribution self-transport only license. This also includes a 3,500 square foot building, which is 50 feet by 70 feet by 14 feet tall, for processing, drying, and storage of cannabis. The parcel size is approximately 78.38 acres. This is the vicinity map here of the project site. The Lower Lake Community Growth Boundary is 2.4 miles north of the project site. The zoning designations for the site, general plan, rural lands, and base zoning, rural lands. It is in the Lower Lake Planning Area within Supervisorial District 1. The site is accessed from deeded easement from Little High Valley Road. A private native soil driveway averages 14 feet in width to the cultivation site from the security gate. The topography of the parcel is moderately to steeply sloped and is located on a volcanic ridge with elevations ranging between 1,840 feet and 2,210 feet above sea level. Due to the location of the parcel near the top of a porous volcanic ridge, there are no jurisdictional water courses near the project site. The project scope consists of up to 87,120 square feet, which is 2 acres of outdoor canopy area, a proposed 50 by 70 metal building for processing. This building will be equipped with permanent accessible restroom facilities. It also includes 8 2,500-gallon water storage tanks for irrigation, a metal water storage tank equipped with a 2.5-inch quick coupling for fire suppression, and an employee parking area with 8 spaces, including 1 dedicated to ADA compliance. Existing land use improvements on the project parcel includes a well, 4 5,000-gallon water tanks, interior roadways with a turnaround, and a locking security gate. The regulations reviewed for compliance include the Lake County General Plan, the Lower Lake Area Plan, Lake County Zoning Ordinance, and California State regulations. Within the Lake County General Plan, there are no conflicting policies, and there are no specific policies addressing commercial cannabis cultivation in the General Plan. The General Plan goals and policies reviewed include land use, economic development, and water resources. This project, as proposed, includes the employment of 2 permanent employees and up to 8 employees at peak season. This is planting and harvesting. These employees will spend money on local commodities, which will benefit the greater Lower Lake area's economy. A major use permit for commercial cannabis cultivation is discretionary and is determined by the Planning Commission at public hearing. All public hearings are noticed in the local newspaper and also to owners of surrounding parcels within 725 feet of the project site, and in this case, the access easement as well, providing an opportunity for community participation and input. The project analysis for the Lake County Zoning Ordinance includes a review of Article 7, Rural Lands, and Article 27, Uses Generally Permitted. Notification of the project was sent to local tribes on May 7th, 2021. Middletown Rancheria sent an email to the county indicating that the project was in their area of concern and requested further information. However, tribal consultation was not requested. On October 23rd, 2023, the Middletown Tribal Historic Preservation Officer sent an additional email to the County of Lake stating that he had conducted a site visit and surveyed the project area. Tribal comments are attachment 8 to staff's report. The California Environmental Quality Act mitigated negative declaration is the proposed CEQA determination for this project. All identified impacts can be reduced to less than significant with mitigation, and the public comment period occurred from August 8th, 2023 to September 7th, 2023, and these mitigations are outlined in staff report attachments to the draft conditions of approval and Attachment 4, the draft initial study. The CEQA initial study found that the project could cause potential impacts to the following resources: aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, noise, tribal cultural resources, and wildfire. A point of interest for this project is that the project would have an estimated annual water use requirement of 4.6 acre-feet annually for cultivation purposes and up to 5.8 acre-feet total water use from the cultivation and proposed processing facilities water use. The estimated amount of water available to recharge the aquifer, according to the project's hydrological analysis, is the recharge of the aquifer during a severe drought year is approximately 6.3 acre-feet, which is greater than the estimated water usage of the proposed cultivation project, with the processing facility as well. An additional point of interest is the hydrological connectivity between the project site well and the neighboring well on the adjacent parcel. At the last public hearing on October 10th, there was public comment and concern for the neighboring well. With that, the staff reached out to the property owner of the adjacent parcel to communicate that sharing well information is voluntary, and any available data regarding the groundwater well associated with the adjacent parcel would be employed to assess the hydrological connection between the project site and the adjacent well. Realm Engineering has expressed interest in specific details, including the well's location, depth, screening interval, in an effort to revise the hydrological analysis for this project. The applicant has proposed at their expense to facilitate a pump test of the project well conducted by a licensed and reputable groundwater professional, while simultaneously monitoring the water level within the adjacent well to determine hydrologic connectivity and potential impacts between the project well and the well on the adjacent parcel. This was to be scheduled at the convenience of the adjacent well property owner and also at the cost of the applicant. There was no written response to this effort that has been received to date, but the property owner of the adjacent parcel has stated they are not interested in sharing well information at this time. An additional point of interest is the access, easement, and maintenance. The project parcel is accessed via private gravel and native soil surface access deeded easement on Little High Valley Road that directly connects to Spruce Grove Road, a county-maintained road, as seen on the project site plans, which are attachment 1 to staff's report. A road access and utility easement and maintenance agreement lists the project parcel as the dominant tenement. The applicant has completed maintenance on the easement since the last public hearing and intends on maintaining the easement to the project site in accordance with the road access and utility easement and maintenance agreement, which is attachment 9 to staff's report. Another point of interest was the use of pesticides at the site. All commercial cannabis projects are required to register with the Lake County Agriculture Department for pesticide applicator license and operator identification card for any pesticide use at the cultivation site. Agency comments are attachment 6 to staff's report, and we received a comment from the Agricultural Commissioner. The comments have been incorporated into the project's conditions of approval. And the last point of interest for this project is site security, as stated by the neighboring concerns from the last hearing. All permits for commercial cannabis cultivation must adhere to the regulations set forth in Article 27 of the zoning ordinance. This includes a detailed security plan that outlines security measures within the property management plan, which is attachment 3 to staff's report. The documentation that was submitted by the applicant was sent to Lake County Sheriff's Office for review, and Lake County Sheriff's Office has confirmed that the project does meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, there is a requirement that the applicant and any of the farm employees do have their live scan background checks. We have received the results of those background checks, and the applicant and their staff are qualified for those purposes. On the November 8th site visit with staff, the property owner of the adjacent parcel had expressed their concerns regarding potential security risks associated with commercial cannabis operations and its impact on the character of the neighborhood. In response, the applicant and project consultant did offer to provide an additional fencing along the property line at that time. I let them know that that would be between those two parties should they wish to pursue that. That is something that is not enforced by the planning division or is a requirement within the zoning ordinance, but it was more of a neighbor-to-neighbor discussion. The adjacent owner also acknowledged that the measures would help to address some of their concerns. The cumulative impacts for this project are within 1 mile of the proposed project are 1 approved and 0 pending projects. And within 3 miles of the proposed project are 12 approved and 6 pending projects. Recommendations include adopt mitigated negative declaration initial study IS 21-07 for use permit 21-07 with findings found in the staff report. And major use permit recommendations approve use permit UP 21-07 with the proposed conditions of approval and with the findings found in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the time to revisit those concerns that the public had. Any discussion or questions for staff before we open it up for public comment? No? All right. That being said, we will go ahead and open public comment. This is anyone's opportunity to approach the podium to voice your concerns or facts on this project. And if you're in the Zoom room, please raise your hand and we will get to you and allow you to speak. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning. Mary's...
Sorry, don't forget to say your first and last name.
Yes, my name is Trey Sherrill, and I am consultant to the applicant.
Thank you.
Mary's presentation was very thorough, and so I don't want to repeat for time some of the things she said. I did want to just add that we had a site visit with some members of the public that were concerned about this project. We discussed several things, trying to figure out ways that we could work together. And also, in addition to what Mary had said about we sincerely wanted to have a well test to see if there was any potential for impact, but the neighboring well owner did not want to allow that to happen. We also offered that a service of the well, a cleaning, in addition to compensate for any inconvenience that she might have experienced as a result of the test, but she told us she was not interested in it. And I just wanted to, after that, I just want to make myself available if there are any questions regarding the project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Morning.
I'd just like to reintroduce myself. I'm Mark McDonald, and I am the applicant and the landowner of this beautiful property, for sure. And as I stated before, I am the owner of Inland Properties, which is specialized in the sale of Lake County land and ranches for the past 35 years. So I'm very well entrenched in this community, and always want the best for whatever happens in Lake County. Also, I'm going to be working with our project manager and director, which is Travis Lisenby, which is, he'll speak again, I'm sure. And he's been born and raised in the community, has been a prominent citizen, and he's also had his own cannabis operations with a major use permit, very successful. He's one of the best ranchers around, and I'm really proud and happy to have him working with us. We're going to try to do everything as professionally and considered with consideration for everyone as much as possible. Travis has lots of extensive experience with road maintenance and, of course, agricultural things and building and construction. He's a very able and a great guy for all these kinds of things. Very, very able. So, yeah, we are very considerate of the neighbors. Like I said, I've worked in this county for many years, and I've tried to do the best for everyone. I want to make sure that everyone's the properties that I sell and what I'd like to always make sure that they are consistent and with the neighbors and everyone's happy. And so far, for the past 35 years, that's worked out good. So we have that same kind of attitude on this project. We want it to be an asset to the area, not a liability, and we'll do everything in our power to try to create that kind of a situation. So if you have any questions, I'll be here, but that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Are there any hands in? Okay. Thank you. Please be sure to state your first and last name.
Yeah, my name's Eric Arberg. I'm a little bit further away from that to the north in the Hofecker area. I'm familiar where the land is, looking up in my Hunter on X. So my question is, and this is something, I came here for these other meetings with cannabis, is water concern for sure. I don't understand how they can use a test from January 15th, when I call that kind of free run water at that time. We in our community, we have a real difficult time with water. June 1st is usually what I call the witching hour, when water starts getting really limited. And from there until the next rain season, or until like right now where we've got the frost hit, trees shut down, there is a little water recovery. I reiterate, doing a test on January 15th, I think is inappropriate. I think they should do water tests more in the summer months, because it gives a more accurate, that's going to show that it really is good or that it is bad. Because like you have neighbors in the area, the one that doesn't want to do the monitoring, I understand, doesn't want to have oversight on their well. But the fact is that I think they should do their testing in a more proper time of the year when they're using all this water, not December, January, February, what I call free run water. Right now, my own wells, I can turn faucets on, they run great. June, July, August, I barely get a gallon a minute. I have had to have truck water in. That's my main concern. I'm the president of the Homeowners Ranch Association. All of our neighbors struggle with water, and we're just over the hill. I know where the place is. So as far as them doing it permitted, I applaud permitting and oversight as long as it's followed through. Again, the water is my concern. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to comment. Please. Good morning.
Morning. My name's Odell Landers, and we do have a problem with the water. I've never had a problem with the water since I've moved there, and that was back in '97, until they actually put their well in, and then a couple of years ago I ran dry. And I've never had a problem with that before, and I even filled my pool up with it. So, yeah, I do have a problem with the water situation and whatnot. But I also have some from Mark Hall. Did you guys get any copies from him?
Yes, I do. We got one from
Brian Hall.
Brian Hall.
Sorry.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you all read through that or
I mean, it was received and green sheeted as of this morning, and I can't speak for everyone, but I've had a chance to look at it. Yeah, I think we
Okay.
all have. It's all been it's been received on this end.
Okay, so you see the paragraph where it says CEQA,
CEQA, yes.
State Clearinghouse Summary Description does not profile or provide critical project specific information in which clearing quantities, grading quantities, runoff quantities, and vegetation and tree removal. Instead, the summary simply states that various permits will be required for these activities, which is merely a general statement that applies to all projects regardless of size and circumstances. Federal and state agencies must have project-specific information in order to determine if the project will have a significant environmental impact, which we all think it does. I have one more piece of paper right here and stuff that, I don't know if you guys are all aware of, J.C. Crandall in the county of Santa Barbara. They had a issue on that also, and it states on here that Mr. Crandall was the plaintiff of this thing, like we are, and the court of Santa Barbara stated that in the final that during the they couldn't have a cannabis thing with the without having the permission of the residents from the easements. So far, we have not given him permission to do this. And I don't know if that holds up here or whatnot. But here's a copy of it right here if y'all want it. If not, don't worry about it. But that's what the county of Santa Barbara came up with. So
I do believe we received. Yeah, we
that
we have
should, I
those as
think,
well.
would be in that.
In the whole
folder.
packet.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you'll just give me a minute, I had some handouts I wanted to provide. Could I provide this? It has some pictures and things. Okay, now that they have them, is it okay if I go ahead and start speaking? Okay, my name is Joni Henderson, and just what I handed out was a letter that I've written, and I've also attached some photos. The letter that Brian Hall has submitted, I really encourage, you'll notice it's quite beefy. He is a physical engineer. That he has submitted clarifying the facts. I am very alarmed at the facts that are being presented as facts, yet the evidence does not show it. I'm hearing this flowery, glowing report. I was not offered compensation for some well test. They offered to do a well test, not compensation, so I don't know what that's about. I'd like to read this letter that I've written, please. It's in front of you. I want to walk through some pictures also. As I said, my name is Joni Henderson. I own land adjacent to the property, a 40 and an 80-acre parcel, right next door to the grow operation. My nephew Brandon, he's sitting right here, owns an additional 40 acres located also right next to the grow operation. My home is located downhill very close to the proposed grow site, the actual site where they're going to be growing. I have serious concerns about this commercial grow operation being close to my home. I've expressed this during the last public input. This is my children's home. We homeschool. I'm being told that this doesn't matter. We have homeschooled for years because of my son's health concerns. These concerns are shared by our neighborhood about the cultivation. It's not just my concerns. In fact, we contacted Brian Hall, a registered civil engineer. He agreed to help us in reviewing the applicant's documentation. I, for one, am absolutely alarmed at the quantity of failures to follow the rules and regulations, but you're being told they're followed. What's the truth here? Following these rules and regulations would have provided the applicant guidance to ensure health and safety of our community and the environment were followed. Please read Brian's letter. Here is a condensed list because of time concerns that I'm presenting. Our community, as this gentleman just said, has serious water concerns. This has been brought up multiple times. It can't just be contingent on one person saying, I'm not comfortable. What are you wanting to do on my property? There are multiple wells here that are concerned. We're all telling you there are water concerns in this immediate area. The residential easement, and I do not believe it is deeded, I believe it is prescriptive, crossing my land for the grow site has been widened for commercial purposes without my permission. Please see the first photo. Can you see the photos in the attachment? The first one is showing the condition of the easement. You'll notice the date on there. It's a residential road. It's modest. It's a residential road. As you'll see, it's being widened for commercial purposes. Doesn't that require permits? And as my other neighbor, Bill, just read, there is now precedence in the law that you can't do this for cannabis if the owners that the easement crosses, the owners of the property say no. We say no. Is that a timer for me?
That was, I believe, the 3 minutes.
Okay. I have more to say, so for continuity, is my nephew allowed to take the podium and then yield his time to me?
We could do that.
Or my mother, either way. This is my mother, Dorothy Henderson. Oops. My mother, Dorothy Henderson, she lives with me.
Good morning, Dorothy.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Henderson, and I live with my daughter on the adjacent property, and I would like to yield my time to my daughter to finish speaking. She's speaking for the whole family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. You can
So
go ahead
as-
and continue. I appreciate you understanding the time.
Yes, and
that
I
we have to
appreciate the
allot.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get so much information
Sure.
quickly to you, please. So thank you. I appreciate that. So as I was alluding to the case, October 29th of this year, the California Court of Appeal, JCC Crandall versus County of Santa Barbara, decided that a use applicant for cannabis cultivation must have permission from easement landowners to use their properties for cannabis operations. Based on the recent decision, should not the acquisition of permissions from the affected easement owners be considered a critical first step in the process of obtaining the use permit? These guys don't have my permission, for the record. They have widened the residential easement crossing my property without permits for purposes of commercial use. The applicant and the CEQA documents omit an 8-acre clearing phase on the project parcel and does not provide accurate project-specific environmental information. And again, Brian Hall details this information in their facts. Please review it. Does not provide accurate project-specific environmental information for federal, state, and local agency review. Please see the extensive clearing. If you would, the photos. There's one that shows my home adjacent to the proposed grow site. Please note the tree cover. Then look through the rest of the photos and you'll see the clear cut. All those mature trees are gone. I was told during the site visit that no trees would be removed or had been removed, and therefore we didn't need to worry about raptors and so forth. Clearly, the photos say something different. I'm confused by this. Again, I don't know if the regulations are really being followed. I was told that environmental reviews, as I said, were not necessary because trees were not being removed from the site and therefore would not impact raptors in the area. The applicant's own documentation, Google Earth, historical images, and the site visit attended by county staff, the applicant, and the neighbors clearly demonstrated many, many trees had been removed. We all saw it. Again, those pictures are there. There are multiple raptor species, golden eagles, hawks, owl species, that have always been observed in our valley over my property, over the grow site. There's a pair of golden eagles that we all know have always nested on this site. Was there any attempt to evaluate for them on a non-drought year? State agencies have been contacted in this regard. During the time that these trees were being cut down, the site cleared of all vegetation, my son was battling cancer. My focus was taking care of my family and seeing my son through his 4 years of chemotherapy treatments. He is still undergoing treatment in Oakland Children's Hospital. I am very alarmed at what I now see has happened on this grow site. I am deeply concerned about the toxic exposure this grow operation will inflict upon my son, my daughter, and my neighborhood. My concerns have been met with reassurances that the grow operation must comply with only using certain chemicals, that runoff must be mitigated. Instead, the evidence of compliance with the rules and regulations, I don't see it. Where's the proof? Does that mean I need to stop and yield to someone else?
We'll just, if I could just give her the additional 3
don't think
minutes,
I
or do you
need
want,
too much
or
time.
did it work better to have the person come up, say their name, and then yield their time? Does it matter? Is there a certain procedure I need to follow?
There is not a certain procedure that you need to follow.
Okay.
However, I would recommend that if you do choose a particular direction, that you apply it universally.
Thank you. Yes, if we could have him come up, and we'll do the same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am Brandon Henderson. I had a few questions. I came in about 10 minutes late. That's my own fault. But I remember last session that we had, water concerns were huge, and that the county was going to evaluate wells and water levels of both the grow area and the surrounding areas for wells that were going dry throughout certain times of the year. What was the verdict on that? I may have missed it, maybe it wasn't spoken, but it looked like that was the linchpin for this going in or not.
Sure.
There wasn't enough water, it's not happening. Bam, dead stop.
Yes, and I believe, staff did touch on some of the hydrology questions, and we could possibly pull that back up, but it was touched on, and we can have the applicant also kind of state what their procedure has been and what they've done since the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to yield the rest of your time to the previous speaker, we can finish that up and then give the applicant a chance and staff to present that real quick for you.
Okay. I will yield my time to Joni.
Thank you.
So instead of evidence of compliance with rules and regulations that have been put in place to protect the environment and the health of the community, we see evidence of complete disregard of the rules and no expression of care for those who are impacted, like my children. It's being just glossed over. It's all okay. What chemicals might be used to control weeds around this commercial grow operation? I live downhill from the proposed grow site. Will runoff contain herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers? Will it contaminate my homegrown food supply, my water supply? What will my children be breathing? There has been no oversight or mitigation to control the runoff. You see in the pictures, but I'm just supposed to, okay, they say they're going to do it. They haven't. But I'm supposed to put my children's, their health? That doesn't really make sense. That wouldn't be being a responsible parent, would it? The applicant has completely disregarded the rules that would have provided overview and guidance to ensure health and safety. I do not envy you, the decision makers on this project. You are being charged with the task of making decisions that are directly impacting our community and the health of its most vulnerable citizens and the environment. You're being tasked to make these decisions using documentation you must sift through looking for evidence of truth. Actual compliance and not just empty, flowery statements. We looked, and we are deeply alarmed at the level of disregard and failure to follow the rules. Please do not let this grow operation go forward. This is something I would like to finish with from Brian Hall, physical engineer. The project as proposed will violate federal, state, and local regulations and will therefore violate item A2 of the MUP conditions of approval, which states, this permit does not abridge or supersede the regulatory powers or permit requirements of any federal, state, local agency, special district, or department which may retain a regulatory advisory function as specified by nature or ordinance. The applicant shall obtain permits as may be required from the agency. I don't know if evidence is being provided that that's happening. In fact, I don't see it. Thank you very much for your consideration. I very much appreciate letting me speak multiple times.
Thank you so much. I still have public comment open. How's that Zoom room, Ruby? Is there anybody in there? Let's go to the Zoom room.
Betsy, you are allowed to speak. Please state your first and last name, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Good morning, Betsy. We can hear you. If you could just confirm your first and last name, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Morning, thank you so much. My name is Betsy Kahn. I am the editor-in-chief of the Essential Public Information Center, and my concern is about the description of cumulative impacts, which I made note here. There was one approved project and none pending. I believe it was within a mile of the proposed project, and then 12 approved and 6 pending within 3 miles. Is that correct? It's something like that. But there
Yes,
was no calculation of the impact on the groundwater basin in relation to what they use now, which is called the available water. There is no safe water yield calculation that would determine whether this new extraction of several acre feet is added to previously authorized extractions, who's monitoring those, and how much is actually being taken if you add this new project. I believe that's an extreme failure of the Planning Commission to establish standards and thresholds within which you can make that determination, because it's our groundwater, our shared groundwater basin. And, I was prepared to give you this comment long before I heard the descriptions that Joni provided, but and others. There's definitely, it's a very fragile groundwater system in Lower Lake. I don't know whether the Lower Lake County Water District or the Waterworks District has any concerns about this, but I think you all should. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Next hand in the Zoom room.
Maria, please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Maria Kahn. I want to say good morning to the commissioners and staff, and thank you for all that you're doing to protect our lands in Lake County and make wise decisions about these projects that are being implemented. My name is Maria Kahn. I'm a registered voter, homeowner, and member of the East Region Town Hall Municipal Advisory Council. It concerns me when I see the applicant has graded and cleared the property before they have been granted their use permit. Like Sowers HBR, Lemon Glow, Poverty Flats, and many other cannabis projects I've researched and am researching, Little High Valley applicant has already illegally cleared the land. According to Google Earth Pro images, the property was graded sometime between February and April of 2021, and a record search in the Lake County Acela Citizens Access Database found no grading permit record exists for the parcel. There seems to be a pattern of no consequences for these applicants who destroy the land before their project is approved, and I believe they should be held accountable. Ideally, a deterrent should exist that would prevent this from ever even happening in the first place. Additionally, I would like to recommend a condition of approval be that no land disturbances occur prior to approval, and that the consequence of violation is the automatic denial and termination of the project. Applicants should be made aware of this condition the moment they express their intentions to grow cannabis on a parcel of land. Countless trees, flora, fauna, habitat, and potential cultural artifacts have been lost due to this violation in the past, and I urge our county representatives to take action to protect our natural environment from destruction in the event these projects do not move forward. I can attest that the Sowers project in my valley, the land was taken over by Brassfield, and he's already put about $2 million in restoration of that project that never went through. So also, as a property owner with an easement road alongside my house, I can attest to the disruption and negative impact a 6 to 7 day per week operation will have on the family affected. I support the neighbors of this proposed operation, and I ask you to deny UP 2107. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Ruby, is there anyone else in the Zoom room? No hands in the Zoom room. I will bring it back to chambers. We still have public comment open if anybody wishes to speak. This would also, thank you, be a good time for you to, if we could, possibly staff, if you wanted to bring up that illustration of the evaporation and the water and the aquifers, that might be helpful. Go ahead and speak if you'd like, the consultant.
Yes, thank you. My name is Trey Sherrill, consultant to the applicant, and thank you for the slide that will help.
Here we go.
So there, as far as cumulative impacts to groundwater, this, as stated in the presentation, this is located on a volcanic ridge. There are two known wells from Lake County Environmental Health and California Department of Water Resources. There are two known wells on this volcanic ridge. We believe that there's another well that we have not been able to gather any information on. But other than that, there are not any other in the proximity to this specific volcanic ridge. This volcanic ridge is also the recharge area. I'm also bringing that up because it's there was a comment about the pump test being done in January. This well is in a confined aquifer, and so you're not going to see any significant groundwater fluctuation without pumping impacts. You're not going to see seasonal groundwater fluctuation like you would in a well or an aquifer in a valley floor. And so therefore, it's a January test of a well like this is sufficient information for providing the analysis. The impacts to the other known well on this volcanic ridge was evaluated and determined not that there would not be any impacts from it. And then also I want to, the clearing, it's my understanding, I didn't see the site prior to more recently, the applicant started out with a different consultant. But it's my understanding that the only vegetation that was removed was some brush, and that they were also removing some abandoned cars and trailers that were on the property. And you can see, and I was wondering if we could, I don't know which slide it was, but there was a slide where you showed a picture of the cultivation area, and you can see, I hope in this photo you can see there, you can see on the right, the photo on the right, there are some trees that are within the cultivation area that were not removed. Like the trees, as far as I'm aware, were not removed. There was some brush removed, and that's what you're seeing in the images from the professional engineer's letter. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Just a quick, I guess, just comments through the hydrology report. Page 5, the well appears to be 320 feet below the surface.
Yes.
And that was done in August of 2020. I'm sure they were using way bigger pumps than they did when they did the test in 2021, because when it was installed, they were showing 400 plus gallons per minute, and that was in August of 2020.
Yes, sir.
So the well test that was done in 2021, it was a 4-hour well test. What was that?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. January 2021. 55 gallons per minute, a 4-hour well test, and it appeared that the water dropped 15 feet and recovered only after 30 minutes. There was some comments, or a comment that came up regarding so I have those two,
Are you referring to like the difference in the production of the well when it was drilled versus during the well test?
Yeah, and just kind of, showing either the depth, and if, by any chance, do you have any information about any neighboring wells and what their depths are?
Yes, in the hydrology study, in the hydrology study, there was a list compiled of all the wells within approximately 1 mile of the site that, from information that's available from the California Department of Water Resources. And so the information summarized in a table at the end of that, the hydrology report, there was one well of concern on a property that is northeast, or maybe just to the east of the project parcel. We contacted the owner of that property and discovered that that they're in two different, they're still on the volcanic ridge, but the project well is at the top of the volcanic ridge. The other well was at a lower elevation below the project well, and it was in a different aquifer formation, different geology. And then the difference between the 400 gallons that were estimated during that was a well pump that the driller had on site. And then when we had the well test done, the generator that could only produce 55 gallons. That's the difference. There is a substantial amount of water on this due to the fact that it is volcanic. It's highly porous water, moves down relatively quickly and doesn't run off. And so just about any drop of water that falls on this property, once it gets a centimeter deep, it's going to continue to move on down to, well, maybe not centimeter, there is some vegetation, but generally speaking, it's going to move down into the aquifer.
Thank you.
Any other questions while we have the applicant up here?
I do have a couple of questions. I take your point about the trees. I can see them in the photograph. What about grading?
I'm not aware. There's no evidence of grading or any land disturbance other than vegetation removal, except immediately around the well. There was a little bit of a pad, very small, less than 50 cubic yards. Also, for the building, it would be less than 500 cubic yards, which a building permit would cover. The intent is for cultivation to occur in this field pretty much as it is. There would be some blading necessary to establish cultivation areas, to beds and things like that. That would actually be, as far as any future land disturbance, that would be a great question for the site manager, Travis Lisenby. He's quite knowledgeable, as stated by Mark earlier. He's quite knowledgeable and experienced in earthwork in Lake County.
Yeah. It's always been my understanding that when one refers to pesticides in this context, if you could talk about that a little bit more. My point being that the nature of this crop, as we've always been told over the years, is that when tested, it has to have virtually nothing in terms of pesticides or a toxin in it, or else it's not marketable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in response to Ms. Henderson's comments about toxins and chemicals,
I
could address that?
I have an analogy I'd like to just, so when the industry was first coming into its current status and testing was implemented, cannabis edible chocolates were a popular, or still are, a popular product. However, very early on, particularly chocolates, could not pass testing because the chocolate that they were mixing, that they were adding clean cannabis oils to chocolate, and the chocolate failed the testing itself, could not pass it. And what I'm saying, I'm using that to bring up is it's the testing thresholds are so minute in parts per billion that we have to be very careful about what any contamination from any pesticide. And so there's a very, very few pesticides that we're actually allowed to use. And it's a complex issue based on the fact that a lot of pesticides we're not allowed to use because they're federally regulated and therefore they can't be approved for use on cannabis because of the federal status of cannabis. And so they have to have a very broad, basically can be used on just about anything and be safe for any kind of consumption, whether it's ingested or inhaled. And so that these things lead to the extreme tolerances that we have to adhere to when it comes to pesticides. Did I answer that?
It did. I'm still confused about the easements. There seems to be a complete disagreement about whether, in fact, permission has been given or not. And the road access and utility easement and maintenance agreement has to stand for something, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There is an easement established to all of the properties on this side, including a neighboring property that the easement goes through this property. The easements vary in width from 25 feet to 60 feet in width. They are well established. And I don't, yeah, and so there's accusations of road widening. The road wasn't widened, but there was brush cut back to allow for vehicles to pass more freely. But as far as like actually like widening the road, like grading, that didn't occur. There was a lot of gravel applied. And I probably didn't.
No, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm not an attorney myself, but it says recorded in official records of County of Lake on 9/24/21, listed as document, or the, sorry, I'm looking, or, right, the project parcel is the dominant tenement, and the subservient tenement was recorded in this official thing. So that's satisfactory to me in terms of understanding how the easements might be used.
And that, what you're referring to as a perfection of the easement, the original easement is, the 60-foot wide, and it doesn't, it's a line drawn on some parcel maps, as this is a lot more, a defined easement that you're referring to there.
That's it for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still have public comment open? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Travis Lisenby. I'll be the project manager. As it goes for any grading, there's been absolutely no grading done on the property. When Mark bought the property, it was kind of like a junkyard, bunch of vehicles. We hauled it all out to Burns to scrap, and it was growing around, the brush was growing around all the vehicles, so we cleared the brush, but no trees of any size were moved, or no dirt was moved. After our last meeting here, I did bring in a bunch of gravel to smooth out the road. No grading was done then. It was just to build up the existing road there. And then I cut back the brush to the edges of the road. And in some spots it's pretty, 30 feet wide, and other spots it's 20. But that was a couple things that, sitting there listening, that I wanted to say, because I am the one that's up there, and I'm the one that's cut every brush and brought every piece of rock in and has done everything there. So if there's any questions, I'm here.
Thank you.
I know that you're applying for a PG&E connection, and that can't be done until you've been granted a use permit. But I also understand that can take a while in terms of PG&E getting that work done.
Yeah, and we haven't actually applied for the...
No, you can't yet.
Yeah.
I understand that. But I assume you would be applying.
Well,
and would you be using generators until that time that connection was completed?
we plan on using solar.
Mm-hmm.
And just the price of bringing in the power is going to be a lot, for a fraction of the price we can get solar. The tanks are on the top of the ridge, so it's all gravity coming down to the field. So there's not much power needed besides to pump the water. And one of the other things is how you asked about the 400 gallons. How do you go from 400 to 55? So when they drill the well, they're drilling with the truck, and he gauges how much water is there. We put $10,000 pump in the hole. That's a 55 gallon minute pump. So that's why it pumped 55 to the top of the ground. You can't pump more than what the pump is, We could put a bigger pump in there, but there's no need. 55 gallons a minute, you could fill up a 5,000 gallon tank in a couple hours. It's way more than needed.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
My name is James Wright. I live on Little High Valley Road.
Good morning.
My concerns are, they claim that there was no grading. They brought in a $500,000 excavator for a month, a rental. I'm quite sure that they had to do some grading up there, simply because you don't rent something that expensive and do nothing with it. I have an excavator, a very small one, and they rented one that had to be brought in on a lowboy. And my bigger concerns are, a month ago, I had to back out on Spruce Grove Road with a trailer because the dump truck was coming out. I was just entering the road, so I felt like it was my obligation to get off the road and let them get off. They say there's a 60-foot easement. You guys have came out on that road. There's literally only 10 feet in places you can get on, 15 max. And as soon as the rains start and you get off the edge of the road where he's clean brush, you're going to go straight down. The roads aren't stable whatsoever. Probably 80% of the roads are, he did a great job on the graveling, what he did. He didn't do any grading, he's absolutely right. I'm not complaining about what he did on the road, but I drive the road every day, and it is not passable, maybe 2 or 3 places. In fact, he parks his truck and trailer when he unloads his skid steer to do road maintenance, right there on one of the few places there are that people can pass with a trailer and a vehicle. But when you've got a dump truck passing on this road, there is no access. My mother-in-law owns 20 acres. I own 20 acres on Little High Valley Road. And she's panicked every time she meets a big piece of equipment. She's 83. She's lived there probably the longest of anybody out there. I want to say 35 years on the property. And it's been an ongoing issue, the road maintenance. And what they're doing is great. But they're literally, I don't know how the fire department can pass a permit to this with no places to pull over and room to pass vehicles on the 80% of the road. When it gets to their property, they comply to all the rules. But after they come off their property, there's literally no compliances on width and accessibility. And I know for a fact, I'm here in the winter, you go down as soon as you get off the main track. There is no pulling over and making room to pass people a lot. There are issues. So I'm very concerned about all that. And a parcel of that road, which we took measurements from stakes, there's 60 foot of the road that turns real tight around a big rock. Anybody that's been out there understands this. It's 60 foot on Bill Lander's property, the easement road. It's not on the easement itself. And when we were, showed them concerns out there on the site visit, and we all had that meeting out on the property, they said it's up to us to pay for that road to be moved off Bill's property, not the people that are actually, needing commercial use of that road. But 80% of that road is not commercial usable. I mean, yeah, one lane, absolutely. But like I said, as soon as you hit winter, there's no getting off this road and getting to the side without going down very quickly. I know because I've went down multiple times. I'm quite sure of it. Thank you.
If I could comment on your point about 4290 standards that CAL FIRE imposes, that kind of thing. As a commissioner, I've never quite understood how they will certify from the property line in the project area, but they do not certify the road that leads to the applicant's property.
That's my whole concern. Why?
I understand that, but we're not here to adjudicate those things. We don't have that kind of
And I'm aware, but the concerns I have is the access.
But one can't expect the applicant to maintain that entire road that is not
Absolutely not. I agree. I've maintained a lot of
My
it.
point is only that the road's a problem, yes.
Absolutely.
But the applicant's responsibility is only for the road that is reviewed within the property footprint. And so the county still has to do a better job on that road. But that's not the applicant's responsibility.
And the county actually, it's about 250 feet, the county actually has the rights to maintain. After that, it's all private.
I agree with you. I don't understand the Caltrans finesses that, or CAL FIRE, that's the way it's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's confusing to me how it can't apply to the entire road, at least the width and accessibility to passing people.
That's a different department's responsibility than the planning commission.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Any hands in the Zoom room? We're going to unmute you, Maria, or Marie. Maria, not sure if that was from previous or if you've raised your hand again.
Hi, it's Maria Kahn again. Yeah, I did raise my hand again. And I would urge you to look at Google Earth Pro, which shows you a time lapse of properties, snapshots across time, and specifically April of 2021, when that property was cleared. You can move back in time to 2020 and 2021, and you can see that at least the 2-acre parcel was cleared, and you can see lines on the ground showing that it was absolutely cleared. So when they say they cleared brush, they did a lot. And I think the county needs to pay attention to this because, things happen and they can't be reversed. And so I just wanted to bring that out. Also, the drawings that are used for the hydrology are simply drawings. They really cannot be representative of what's actually happening underground. So please don't be misled by those either. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other hands in the Zoom room? Anyone else wishing to speak on this item before I officially close public comment? Okay, I will officially close public comment. Yes. Strike that.
I am Brandon Henderson again. My notes say from last session that we had that if the project is approved, they will be maintaining and improving current conditions up to a certain, I don't have the notes of what spec it was, but that it would be required from the base of Spruce Grove Road to the project. It would need to be widened and graded, and that wouldn't be required until they're approved, right? That's all I had.
Okay, any clarification on that, staff?
So, Public Resource Code sections 4290 and 4291 apply to interior roadway improvements on the project parcel themselves. So with that being said, this would only require interior roadway improvements on the project parcel. The maintenance agreement for the easement indicates that there is requirement for maintenance on the easement, but that is not a CAL FIRE requirement. That is an easement maintenance agreement.
Okay, thank you. I will close public comment officially, and I will bring it back to the commission for discussion, or unless
Price?
Director Turner has something to say.
Staff does request a 15-minute recess, please.
Okay, 15-minute recess. Time now is 10:10. We will resume at 10:25.
Welcome back. We are showing a time of 10:25, and I will we'll continue with the meeting. So we did get some new information, and we will be continuing this meeting to the first meeting of February. So I'm looking for a motion for the continuance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. That will be very helpful because we want to give the proper amount of time for that new information to make sure we're deliberating and return to you with a well-founded report.
All right. So continuing on to our second item, item 6B, our 9:20 a.m. Public hearing continued from 10/24/2024. Consideration of a proposed major use permit UP 23-05 and mitigated negative declaration IS 23-10 for construction of an ag forest wood processing bioenergy facility with supporting infrastructure. The applicant is Scotts Valley Energy Corporation, location 755 East State Highway 20, Upper Lake, California, APN 004-010-04.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Laura Hall, Senior Planner with CDD Department. This morning for your review, as soon as the slides come up. Is UP 2301 IS 2310, and this is for the Ag Forest Wood Processing Bioenergy Project, and the applicant is the Scotts Valley Energy Corporation. The project address is 755 East State Highway 20 in Upper Lake, California. On the agenda is the continued item, permit requests, project description, site description, project analysis, environmental review, comments received, and recommendations. This item was continued from the October 24th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting in order to address community concerns and due to planning commissioners that were not present. The town hall meeting occurred on November 20th, 2024, and both myself and Director Turner was present at that meeting. The PowerPoint presentation from the meeting is included as attachment 8 to the staff report. The project site is outlined in blue, shown here on the map. And this is the site map with the project site shown at the bottom of the map, the 5-acre site. And the permit request is approval of a major use permit UP 2305. And this is a picture of the site with the red arrows showing approximately where the facility would be located. Project description includes construction of the processing bioenergy facility, and the project site would be located approximately 1,000 feet from State Highway 20. The land is being leased from the county with a 10 to 15-year lease. All infrastructure on the site will be non-permanent with exception of a large foundation for a water tank. Driveway improvements will include grid paver system. Processing area will be covered with base rock, and stormwater runoff will be routed to a retention basin, which is showed on the site map. And the water storage tank will be used for fire. And there'll be a 6-foot fence around the facility. Forest materials will be delivered to the site from Kelseyville, as well as other sites around. It's not mentioned here, but other sites around the county. Biochar will be delivered to a customer in Kelseyville. The project, this is a site, a facility that's from Elk Grove. It's just to show kind of what the equipment would look like at this site as well, would be similar to this. And the site description, the site was previously used for agriculture, but it's been the land's been fallow since 2019. It has blackberry, lots of blackberry on the site and other vegetation. There's a blue line stream shown on the USGS topo map, but there was a biological resource assessment that found no evidence of the unnamed stream. We had them do a second biological field study to make sure that their report was accurate as far as the blue line streams on the property. And there is a small riparian area that's adjacent to the parcel. The existing driveway was historically used for agricultural activities, will be used for this facility as well. There's 2 existing groundwater wells with one that will need to be refurbished if used for this site, for this facility. The project analysis included looking at the Lake County General Plan, the Up Lake and Nice Area Plan, and the Lake County Zoning Ordinance. And we looked at the following goals and policies, and the project did comply with all of these, as well as the objectives and policies in the Upper Lake and Nice Area Plan, and it was in compliance with these policies and objectives as well. And the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, the project is in compliance with Article 4, Article 34, Article 37, and Article 36. And just a side note on the Article 37 waterway and floodway fringe, we did have some concern about the new FEMA flood map and whether the project site would be changed and the FEMA floodway would be moved up toward the project site, and it was not. It's still the same as what was assessed under the initial study. The environmental review included an initial study that analyzed the results of mitigated neg declaration, All of the impacts have been reduced to less than significant. The initial public comment period was scheduled to begin April 23rd, 2023 and end May 24th, 2024. However, an extension period for review of changes made to the mitigated negative declaration began May 28, 2024 and ended June 27, 2024. Comments were received from agencies and the North Shore Fire District and the Building Division. We had several meetings with them, and they decided on the large water tank for fire suppression. And we did have consultation with tribes, and those meetings concluded on June 1st, 2024, and consultation ended at that time. And there were public comments and concerns about air and water quality, noise, smell, truck traffic and safety, trash, drainage, wildlife, watershed, and species, flood, nightlight, and the condition of the parcel. There was concerns over old PVC pipes and those sort of things that the community was concerned that should be cleaned up, and leasing of the property and reduction of property values and location to schools. We recommend that the Planning Commission take the following actions: adopt the mitigated negative declaration IS 2310 for a major use permit UP 2305 based on the findings in the staff report, and approve major use permit UP 2305 based on the findings in the staff report. And that is the end of my presentation. And the applicant is here for questions. And also, you should have received some green sheets for this project this morning.
Thank you very much, Laura. I did have a question really quickly regarding the biological resource assessment. And what was the date of that assessment?
What's that, Ken?
Or what was the date of the assessment? When did it take place?
You pull it up. So the first one was done January 15, 2022, and the second one was done February 20th, 2024. What's that?
Was a correction July 15th, 2023. I think you said January.
Okay, so not 2022, it was 2023, July 2023.
Correct, and I'll confirm the pedestrian survey dates in a moment here.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any further questions from the commission before we? All right, so I will open up, we do have the applicant. I'm going to open up public comment, and please state your first and last name.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for your patience. I'm Tom Jordan. I'm the staff to the Scotts Valley Energy Corporation, the applicant here. I have some additional information I'd like to provide that is a response, and then I'd like to give a brief presentation. So what you have before you are samples of biochar that we are producing, that will be produced. You can open it up if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. But that's the size that comes out of our system. It's not like what you usually conceive or understand to be a biochar. So what I thought I would like to try to do today is to try to give a brief overview of our presentation at the Western Region Town Hall that Ms. Hall referred to and Ms. Turner attended. One of the things that we've tried to do, and the objective of that presentation was to kind of give a perspective of the size and the scope of our project. because I felt, and we felt, that there was some misunderstanding of the size and the magnitude. And so what we had done is, the first thing we did was to have a rendition of the site drawn to scale. So this is what was presented to them on November 20th. The key points to look at are the three buildings that exist on the property. These two are Mr. Khan's property. This is on the property, the vineyard on the west side. This is the site totally. Even though it doesn't look like it's much, the height of that bramble on this site, which is drawn to scale, is 8 feet, so that if you are a person of 4 or 5 or 5 to 6 feet in height, looking across this property, your vision usually just sees the bramble. This is the proposed location of the site. At the top of the site here would be Highway 20. So what we're trying to do is give a perspective of height and dimension. I'm certainly happy to look at this more personally. If you want to look at it, staff can give it to you. You're looking confused. Okay. So the other thing we did at that presentation is we gave a PowerPoint presentation, again demonstrating that the location of our site is 1,000 feet away from Highway 20. And the location of it is on the southwest corner of the property versus any other location. And we chose that location primarily because of the distance it would be from the scenic corridor view from Highway 20, and also from the farthest neighbor that we knew about, which was Mr. Khan and his home on the east side of the property. We had a choice. We could have put that 5-acre parcel lease that was not specified in the lease agreement where we could have. We could have put it right up against the freeway or the highway. We could have put it any place in the property, but we specifically selected this location for its location and to provide the minimal impact that it would have on the community. The other issue that we did is that we provided we provided the actual structural sizes of the Artis units, the gasifiers, and the linear generators. The gasifier is 8 feet wide by 8 feet long, or 8 feet high by 15 feet long. And we taped that out, and we had members of the public holding poles to the side so they had a visual understanding of the size of that gasifier. The generator is 8 feet wide, 9 feet high, and 20 feet long. And again, we taped that out and had we had 4 people holding poles at the corners, raising them to 9 feet so they could get a perspective. The whole operation would sit inside this room to give you a perspective of the understanding of the size of the project. So it is not a big project. Subsequent to that time, and a concern that has always been raised, and at the meeting there was data, the question of data was on air quality. We presented the same data that we presented to your commission in October. That data was provided by Mainspring, which is a linear generator. As we have said on several occasions and will repeat today, the gasifier is a self-contained unit. There is no release of any environmental air impact on the production of the syngas within the gasifier. It stays within the gasifier. When it is shipped over to the syngas as syngas to the generators are then using that as energy to produce the electricity, and there will be what is the release of chemicals or compounds to the atmosphere. We prevented as I say, the information that was on Mainspring, and if you were to look at the information that I provided you this morning, you will see that what we're referring to is release of information that is less than what we as individuals take in on a normal daily breath basis as we breathe air. So the first page just gives you a comparison of information of the atmospheric releases, showing that Mainspring is below 0.5, and I have 3 copies here for the audience if they would like to see it. Anybody in the audience would like to see the copy? Yes. The second page, if you turn over, and yours is double-sided, shows the composition of the syngas. The far left column shows you the composition of the syngas as it is produced in the gasifier. You'll see that the major components are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, methane. CH4 is methane. When that then is put into a generator, a genset, then the data shows you will see that the methane is totally zero. There is no release of methane, and we know that methane is 10 times more volatile and detrimental to the atmosphere than any of the other two. The next two highest are nitrogen, which is nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. Both of those are what we breathe daily. So those are already in the atmosphere, and the reason those numbers increase so high is that in the gasifier, there is no burning of the material. It is heated. So there's no introduction of oxygen. When you go to use it as a fuel to generate electricity, you enter oxygen. You have to include oxygen so that it can be burned, not heated. And in that burning process, the inclusion of the oxygen is what creates the addition. If you then look at the additional data that I gave you, which is the report from the Allianz Technical Group, this was done for the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. And if you look towards the back pages, you'll see the references that they did a test on 4 linear generators in Hanford. Hanford, as I said, is in the San Joaquin Valley. The San Joaquin Valley Air District has very strict standards. If you look at the back pages, you'll see 3 things that stand out. Air districts tend to want to look at only carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitric oxides or nitrogen, and volatile organic compounds or VOCs. These data sheets show you that for four generators, 3 runs of each of those generators. On the far right column, you'll see the standards of which they would be allowed to meet or not exceed. And on the far left column, you'll see the parts per million information that was provided. And in each case, they are so significantly below what is accepted or what would be permitted as to be basically considered cleaner than the air that we breathe. This data was done as indicated on the test dates on November 24th, so it is current data. No, I'm sorry, September 1st, 2024. So it is current data, and the time runs as it shows you what it is. But again, the things to note are that far left column, the parts per million reductions or releases into the atmosphere of those various compounds that an air quality board is wanting to consider. So as we've always have said and continue to believe and state, our systems are highly clean, do not impact the atmosphere. Our presentation also gave, the final slide was a slide of the noise testing that we've done to date, which is preliminary testing, but accurate in its presentation, and shows that we would be meeting all of the noise standards that the county has imposes on our project. And indeed, we honestly believe we'll be below those standards at any point in time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? All right, no questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so we are still in public comment. If anybody wishes to come to the podium and speak, you will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, I'm John Laboito from Upper Lake. We were informed at the town hall that conditions of the permit can only apply to the leased area. Thus, the applicant cannot be asked to clean up the balance of the property, even though it is all the same parcel. If someone at the county had had more foresight, maybe the cleanup could have been a condition of the lease. But the county's stewardship of this property has been a disaster ever since it was acquired, and the current lease arrangement is a sweetheart deal. An agricultural lease, even for 5 acres of this property, would have generated more income to the county. Speaking to the Lupayoma soil, when this soil is wet, heavy objects like metal or rocks gradually sink into and eventually disappear. That is one reason I suggested 1.5-inch wood chips for the road and the working area. Another reason is that wood chips are a temporary surface, which will decompose over time. A rocked road and working area will likely never go away, and that part of the property is likely permanently lost for real agricultural uses like animals or crops. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Larry Kahn. I have the property closest to the project.
Is any of those buildings on there yours?
I don't recognize this.
I think the freeway's on this, on your left, and it would be, so the black.
It's like something a sixth grader did. I don't know what it is.
It's okay. You can continue with your comment. I was just.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
These are your 2 buildings. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just really concerned. I'm a little confused also. It's my understanding that this project has to be 1,000 feet away from my place, yet it's not. So I'm wondering, is that 1,000 feet, is that like a rule or just a suggestion? You know, I don't get that. And that's what's confusing me. And then, of course, does it mean 1,000 feet from my house or 1,000 feet from my property line? Maybe one of you guys could explain that. And then more troubling is they seem to have moved the line where the floodplain is. If this was my house here, my line, when I bought my place, was somewhere over in here. And now they've moved the floodplain line over to here. I don't understand how a mistake like that can happen. How do you get 2 different surveys with different floodplains? I don't think the ground moved. It's just really troubling. And once again, just like this other gentleman said, this place has been mismanaged incredibly. And this company has no skin in the game. You know, they get a sweetheart deal for the lease. They get a $5 million grant to build this thing and put it together. They don't have any money of their own in there. And after they get in, they can do whatever the hell they want and nothing, who's going to stop them? And if they want to leave, if things aren't working out, you know, who cares? They don't have any money in it. It's not like somebody who actually wants to start a real business has to put in their own money and create things. They're getting it all for free, basically. And I hate to say this, but I know it's because it has to do with Indian relations. And I know that our forefathers did a lot of bad things and we're trying to make up for it. But this is just too much. I mean, it's just a giveaway. How does it help the community, what they're doing? This plant's not going to help the community anyway. It's not going to give any money to the community. You know, the property taxes on that place would generate a lot more money if they had it sold to an individual who was actually doing something with it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And again, this 1,000-foot rule, I don't know, is that just a suggestion?
We can clarify that in a minute. I think we have staff working on that. When they come up with a definite answer, we can, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name's Lori Larson. I live next door to our wonderful plant. Just sitting here Googling, I see that biomass is prone to self-heating spontaneously. making it really difficult to detect and fight fires early. Now, they speak about different material, but my understanding is it's only wood material that's being used, not other trash. So, what do we have for spark detection and explosion prevention and protection systems? Now, I'm assuming you're all homeowners and you have investment into the community, but this is not next door to either of your or any of you. So when I'm in my garden and I'm having this stuff coming over, should I be looking over my shoulder all the time because there's going to be a fire? Because I don't care for that. And I thought about this a lot since the last meeting. None of you own next door. You don't live here. How would you feel if this was coming to your neighborhood? That's what I ask you today, and that's what I've got to say about it. Okay? I didn't move up here to live next door to this, and I cannot move. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbara Morris. I live directly across Highway 20 from this project. And there's been a lot of confusion from the beginning as to what the facts are. Thomas has come to 4 of the Worth meetings in Upper Lake, and the information is changing all the time. And it's been really frustrating and difficult for all of us to understand this project because of that. For example, we've asked how many trucks would be going in and out. It started out in June at 2 to 5, and then August, when Steve, the engineer, was there was 10 diesel trucks going in and out up Middle Creek Road, up to the forest on Elk Mountain every day. And then it went down to 2 trucks. And I have the time. I've watched all the Worth meetings over again on YouTube because I thought, am I crazy? But it's all in there. And I have the dates and the times of when they said all this conflicting information. It's very slippery and it's hard for us to understand. Originally, everything was going, all the biomass was going to go to Red Hills. But at the last meeting, we were told Red Hills is closing. And I don't know if that's true. If it is, where are all the limbs and branches going to be chipped? Are they going to be chipped in Upper Lake? And if so, how loud is that going to be? That was not included on his decibel map. And, you know, that's a big concern, the noise. Also, we've been waiting for this emissions report since June and asked for it at every meeting and never got it. So we've all had questions about particulates. Is this biomass that's coming in going to have fire retardant on it? How are chemicals, you know, in this process are tested? And, you know, there's a very sensitive receptors in the area. There's a big mobile home park filled with elderly people right close by. There's a preschool right across the street. So it's, you know, it's a big concern to the whole town what the air quality is going to be like. This is the first thing we've asked for it at every meeting. This is the first thing I've ever seen addressing air quality. So it's been really difficult for a lot of citizens are coming forward now. If you're not on Facebook, you may have never heard about this. I received the only letter of intent that I know of. Larry never received it. My neighbor next door never received it along Highway 20, Bill Santos. Sherry Harris lives next door. She never received it. So is that my time? So
yeah, if you'd like to just close your argument, I can give you a little more time.
It's, you know, it's been concerning to us that the protocol has been slippery. You know, it hasn't, people in town are just learning about it. So I'd say that, you know, the air quality, the sound, and of course the traffic is a concern because it's right on a high-speed area of Highway 20. I don't care if you can see 600 feet in each direction. My gate is right there. And there's plenty of times when I can't make that turn. And I have to keep going, get off the road, turn around and come back and go up Old Lucerne Road. So it's the location that everyone has a problem with. It's not the right location for this project. This is pristine land, it's wildlife habitat, it has no concrete on it whatsoever. Why not go somewhere that already has concrete and asphalt on it? Why take prime ag land with, just because you're getting it for $100 a year, doesn't mean it's right to go and develop it in another direction. Just let Larry grow hay on it like you wanted to, and leave it agricultural land that we so need. And I've taken up enough of your time, but I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you.
Please reconsider the location.
Hi, staff, commissioners. Julia Carrera, Upper Lake resident. I want to break it down to simple terms. We're taking a round peg and trying to force it into a square hole, or vice versa, and it's just not matching up here. We have, on the slide in that presentation, thank you, Laura, it says industrial. We have industrial use trying to go on prime ag lands in a time where we have food insecurity worldwide. We have a product called biochar, which is not very well known as to what its true ramifications are, but in Europe they're trying to ban it because of carcinogenic off-gassing. The flood situation that Laura mentioned, of course the flood map hasn't changed yet. It's FEMA, and it takes 10 years for them to change the flood map. But if you call the insurance industry and try to get flood insurance in Upper Lake right now, they're not giving it. Very rarely. I did find finally one company that will do it still, but not for commercial. So all our commercial businesses will be flooded based on your county's feasibility study done in December 21 that says that there is a dangerous public facility, our levee system, that cannot hold the water it was designed to hold, amongst many other things that are problematic. This parcel will be underwater. The zoning won't be identified until 10 years from now, because that's how long it takes FEMA to change their flood maps. So they can't say it will be in a flood zone because they haven't changed their flood map yet. But the insurance industry knows it will be, the residents know it will be, and that feasibility study knows it will be. This is a problem with the wood chips clogging our drainage system, the biochar, which also absorbs water, clogging our drainage system, and never mind the carcinogenic aspect to that is still unfounded here in the United States, but please research it in Europe. They are trying to ban biochar because of the carcinogenic factors in it. Also, prime ag lands, my understanding is, are supposed to be protected. Why are we putting an industrial facility in prime ag lands? Why isn't it going into an industrial zone location just down the road? And then we have the scenic highway debacle. Everybody in Upper Lake knows there's a scenic highway if you go on the Upper Lake Connect social media page. I'm very unclear and confused about why the county doesn't see our scenic highway, isn't applying those conditions in this particular project when it's codified in law that it is a scenic highway. I am meeting with the Department of Transportation at the state in the beginning of the year to try to get clarification on this, because I'm terribly confused, as is the whole county. And last but not least, this community and myself don't want this project located where it's at. I support Scotts Valley Tribe trying to create sustainable revenue for itself. This is the wrong location. Prime ag land for an industrial project with uncertainty beyond belief is just not feasible right now. There needs to be more research done, more locations done. I actually gave Tom the name of a realtor to try to find another parcel, and he never followed through with that realtor, according to the realtor. So I just ask you, please, do not allow this industrial project in a community of Upper Lake adjacent to a preschool, wildlife corridors, and a flood drainage system that will be clogged. It just won't work. And there's liability on all of your behalfs if you do approve it, particularly with a dangerous public facility that exists less than a half mile away that's going to flood our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else in chambers wish to speak? Can we take a look in the Zoom room?
Steve, please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Steve Brumbaugh. I've been working with Scotts Valley for about 2 years on this project, and I would like to clarify a few things. The actual site where the project is going to be sitting is outside of the new maps that were done for the Upper Lake breach of the 6th location levee. So in the worst case scenario, Upper Lake is completely flooded, and this site will not be in that zone. So let's clarify that. There's a lot of misunderstanding in that, and there's a lot of hyperbole that is being said about the project and what the impact would be. So it is not in that zone, and that Upper Lake will be underwater 6 to 10 feet, and this will not be. So the other thing is that the gravel condition is going to be protected with a fibrous mat underneath the gravel before it's put on, so that it can be removed and not embedded within the soil structure. There will be a grid there that will keep that gravel retained within this area. So that gravel is not going to be spreading because there is a grid that holds it in place. That allows for fire trucks to get on this thing and has supported the weight of the fire trucks in that area. The biochar is being used around the world for ag. And San Francisco buys tons and tons of it for filtration of the water system. So that whole scenario of biochar being some poisonous thing is not true. And it matters how the resource of biochar is made. So this is from a wood source biochar. It's very, very beneficial to ag. The scenic view part of this is that, yes, there is an ordinance for scenic view. That's 125 feet off the highway. We're 1,000 feet from the highway. We have almost zero impact of the view structure being that far away. Plus, the facility is down elevation-wise from the road surface. Next, the idea that there's a restriction to the neighboring property of 1,000 feet is what we propose, trying to be away from his residence so that we wouldn't be impacting it. This project could have been sited right next door with the setback required.
That was your 3 minutes, but I can let you conclude your comment.
Okay, so that was our choice, to try to get it away, far away as we could from his property line, so as to benefit him and not impact him if we could. So that's those are my responses to the previous comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Do we have any more speakers in the Zoom room?
Douglas, please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Doug Gerhart. I am the Air Pollution Control Officer with the Lake County Air Quality Management District. I figured I would jump in and just make a few comments to let people know what the process is once the land use issue is decided on this project. We are a commenting agency for CEQA. We provide comments. The level of detail that's in the project at the moment is not something that we can do emissions calculations on. We look at, once we receive an application, we will be requiring very specific piece of information for every piece of equipment. We look at every emission source. We look at every process in that in the whole processing of that facility, from the trucks on site dust controls to the generators and their emissions. So we will be covering everything once we receive an application. We look at emissions, we do risk calculations, and then notifications as well. So there will be another public notification once we have all of that detail and have reviewed it and have a draft assessment for the application at some point in the future. So there is another round of public comment basically available for this project that will dig into the air quality impacts or whatever the air quality issues are. As a general statement, though, a lot of this woody biomass is material that would be otherwise burned or disposed of in some other way that is uncontrollable. So the emissions, no matter what you think about the location, but the process itself, we can control emissions. Processing through a piece of equipment, whether that equipment is efficient or not. We look at additional filters. We look at other things that can be added on should a problem develop. So having something like this, whether the site is good or not, I'm not getting into that part of it, but we will be looking at those things and evaluating each piece of equipment and what mitigation measures, what air emission control devices and things would be required to bring health risk to levels that is acceptable within the community. So,
Does that conclude your comment?
yes, that concluded. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any more hands in the Zoom room?
The name states R2 and Company. Please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, hi there. My name is Robert Thomas, and I am a local community member on Cobb Mountain and a business owner, R2 and Company. Last meeting, my 15-year-old son and I attended, reason being part of our next generation stewards of the land. We've known Tom since 2018. He's been a trustworthy community member, as a coach, a mentor, and a senior tribal advocate. I think we should consider honoring such an initiative and an initiative to regain our global-centric thinking. I've heard some good points, such as considering larger chips for road construction and questions on the true value of the air quality and considerations. While these are valid, I believe that we should consider that it is a positive approach to a current worldly challenge. And while it may not be such, perfect at the moment, it is a good initiative. And I believe we should all come together to trust the science and restore our faith. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else in the Zoom room?
Tara, please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tara Morris, and my family has lived across the street from this proposed location for decades. And so I have a couple concerns. The map that Tom Jordan showed does not show that location relative to the 4 schools that are located directly across the highway. There's only one property separating the biochar proposed site to the Upper Lake Middle School. We have Upper Lake High School right there. We have the continuation school and the elementary school are all located within very close proximity. Air quality experts have said that if there are any emission releases, it would move directly towards the valley and get trapped towards the town and the schools and get trapped in the valley in that area there. His map also does not show how close it is to Rodman Slough and the waterways that flow directly into Clear Lake. That end of the lake has the highest water table. And so any sort of spill would not just directly impact the groundwater, but it would also impact the water flowing into the lake. I know the assessment said that there's no waterway there, even though they see it on the map. We've lived on that property for my family's been there since the early 1900s. There is a waterway that runs multiple weeks during the wet season. Obviously, with more drought, it doesn't run quite as often, but it does run directly through our property, right along the proposed site and to Rodman Slough. If that map showed all of the waterways, you would see how close this proposed site is to all of the school districts and to the waterways that we are trying to protect to keep our lakes clean. All of the data for this is based on hypothetical data. There's no real working data to show the emissions and particulate levels for this facility. Data that has been done on similar or different types of facilities shows that the biochar production and emissions and particulates are based on the type of biomass that is being used. The proposal talks about the woody biomass, but on the Scotts Valley Energy Plant's website, they define biomass as including agricultural waste, which can be covered in pesticides and other types of chemicals. They also list the possible biomass to be municipal waste. That is garbage. Who is going to oversee and where will the oversight be once this facility is in operation? Who's going to oversee and know what type of biomass is being used? It could be woody biomass in the beginning, and they could change to other things. If it's
That was your 3 minutes, if you would like to conclude your comment.
Yes, and then this is a wildlife area. Wildlife do cross this area. They're talking about putting up a 6-foot fence, which would restrict any sort of access on that area. Biochar, when it becomes airborne, it is carcinogenic, which is why he didn't want you to open that bag in the meeting as he passed around the samples. I think that the environmental assessment, similar to other projects that the Scotts Valley Tribe has proposed, has shown that their environmental assessments do not show the true impact of the project. This has happened with other projects that have been proposed through the Scotts Valley Tribe, and we're seeing it again with this proposal. So I urge you to consider the schools, the town, the people, the waterways, our groundwater in this proposal. This is not the right location. We're not trying to kill the project. We're trying to push a different safe location for the community. And I'm going to end with a quote from Tom Jordan. He said, "This location was selected based on the minimal population and agricultural area." That leads me to assume he believes there's a potential threat to this if it was selected based on the minimal population in the area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. There's no more hands in the Zoom room. I will be closing public comment, but would you like to answer some questions or concerns raised by public comment?
Tom Jordan, staff to Scotts Valley Energy Corporation. I'm not quite sure where to begin. so please bear with me. It will not be ad seriatim. With respect to the location of the property, the last statement that was made, my point of making a minimal impact was not that I thought it wouldn't have it was an affecting a large area. It was that we identified an area that had a small population surrounding it. Not that it any more than that. I didn't. The way that she presented that statement would imply that I thought I would have an impact when I honestly believe it will not have an impact. So I think we need to have that clarification. There was a statement that we were going to drive up and down Elk Mountain. We never made that statement. We said we would be collecting forest material from the forest. The Elk Mountain Road came up from the audience, the public that was at the town hall meeting. I subsequently confirmed with the forest superintendent that the area that they are currently using risk reduction clear cutting, or not clear cutting, but clearing of area in the forest is in this section above Nice and Lucerne. That section of the forest is where most of that work is going to be done, and that's the area that we would be taking in forest material. So we're never going to be using Elk Mountain Road that I'm aware of in the next 15 years. As the proponents have said, that road is impassable, can't be used. Why would we even be thinking of using it? We never thought we would. So we wanted that clarification. Biomass. Biomass, as indicated by the last speaker, has a wide definition. Includes a whole number of substances, including garbage. Garbage, if you leave it and put it in with other compost material, would create spontaneous combustion because the bacteria in there is eating away, creating heat. The heat will get above 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will reach the temperature which it can spontaneously combust. Pure wood chips, which is the only product that we are thinking of and considering and want to use in our project, has no bacteria of that nature in it. It does not heat up. It cannot reach the stage of spontaneous combustion. If you drive down Highway 101 and look at the lumber companies, you'll see stacks of wood chips and sawdust, which raise to the height of, 30, 40 feet. They're not concerned about spontaneous combustion because it just won't occur there. So the other statement was that biochar is carcinogenic. Biochar has a wide definition or a wide use. You burn charcoal in a barbecue, that's biochar. It can be made in a whole number of ways. You can burn material and create biochar. That type of material still maintains, because it's burned, not heated, to 600 degrees Celsius, still has trace minerals, trace materials in it. And that is the kind of material that could potentially have carcinogenic. I don't have any reference to the statement that it is carcinogenic. I don't have that research or understanding. But our biochar that I shared around in the past in bags to you is pure biochar. It's rated at 92 to 95% pure carbon. Carbon is not a carcinogenic. We're all built, 98% of us are built with carbon in our bodies. If you want to bring me back a bag, I'm happy to open it up. I was not concerned about the carcinogenic effect of you opening up that bag. I was concerned it is pure carbon. It will get on your fingers. You'll smudge your papers. You'll smudge everything else if you were to open that up and start to feel the carbon that's in those bags. So it had nothing to do with the carcinogenic. I'm trying to think if there's other things that I've missed.
Something regarding the trucks coming into the facility, the number of vehicles.
We anticipate on a daily basis two trucks today, possibly 4 trucks today. It depends on the cutters and the schedule of the cutters. We are contracting with cutters who are working with the forest department and with the county and other areas to remove forest material, which again is wood chips. All of that material we're requesting will be brought in as wood chip material. We take that gross wood chip, which is a 2 to 3 inch side, and we reduce it down to a 1/4 inch in size, which is again why I showed you the biochar, because that's even smaller when it comes out, because 75% of it turns into syngas, which is the air quality information we provided you, 25% remains as the biochar. So we anticipate 2 trucks. It could be 4 to 5 trucks a day, depending again on what the cutters are cutting and where they need it. That's why there's a 5-acre site. That's why we demonstrated there would be piles, potential piles of wood chips that are brought in and set until we process it through the system. The system is self-generating. We're trying to use all electric power to the extent that we can find all the machinery. We know the gasifiers. We know that the generators all run on electricity. All our conveyor belt systems will run on electricity. Some of the machinery that we're looking to buy, the grappler hooks to move the material from a pile to the conveyor belt, may be diesel. We don't think so. We're looking for electric powered machinery, and that's what we're going to spec in our original spec. We haven't gone to that level yet because until we have a site secured, we haven't moved to the process of totally securing equipment. Does that answer your question? Did I miss any of the questions you have?
No, that was the only question I had. Any questions from the commissioner?
You said
Yeah,
that
Sharon.
anywhere from 2 to 5 trucks may be coming in. What is the exit? What are you going to do with the byproduct?
Thank you. The byproduct, there's 2 products that are produced here at the site. That's what we call a wood processing campus, agricultural wood processing. We're taking the material and grinding that chip down to a small material so that it can be used at the other facilities that we hope to plan for. The first one will be in Red Hills. That facility will take that, so it'll be loaded onto a trailer and it'll be removed once the trailer is filled. Depending on the size of the trailer, it'll either be a 5-ton trailer or a 15-ton trailer. So it'll take easily a day to do a 5-ton trailer. So the most frequency would be one truck leaving a day filled with the chip to go to the Red Hills project, which takes 3.75 tons of wood chip a day to process. It runs 24/7. This plant only runs 7 to 7. There is another confusion with respect to where we're receiving the material. When we originally started this project 2 years ago in the initial study, we had an agreement with Donahue, who had a facility on Bottle Rock Road, a leased facility from a landowner. We were going to use the chips from his facility on Bottle Rock Road, bring it up to the Upper Lake campus, process it in the chip size that we need, and return it back to the Red Hills property, the Red Hills plant. That's the confusion that people have that I had, that I said. I never said that we own that property. We don't own that property. We only own the Red Hills property, the actual final user of that wood chip.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Did we get a final answer on the? Thank you for your comments. Yeah, regarding the setbacks.
Yes, so according to the setbacks, the side setbacks is 15 feet in that zoning district. And we also would like to clarify that a field survey for the bio was, the first one was completed May 2023, and the last one was completed June 2023.
If I may, there was one other question relative to the vicinity. The schools, as you all know, are not across the street on Highway 20. They're a block away. So we're 1,000 feet till we get to Highway 20, and I don't know how many hundreds of feet it is between the Highway 20 and where those 4 schools. There is one child care facility across the street, just one. There are not 4 schools across the street.
Yeah, based on GIS from the freeway, it appears that it is another 500 feet to the property line of the school. So
it would be easily, I would say easily that, because to drive it, you guys drive a whole block to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But you do double back.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Just one last look around in chambers before I close public comment. This is the last chance. If anybody wishes to speak, we'll take a look at the Zoom room real quick. And we do have one, and this will be the last hand that we'll take before we bring it back to the commission.
Tara, please state your first and last name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. This is Tara Morris again. So in conducting research about biochar, our question here is about, our concerns are about the location. Other states that have been using biochar for the last decade, like Colorado, are processing it on site. They're using mobile kilns that have anti-emission toppers on them. And so the kilns are brought to the site where the biomass is at. It's processed on site. The biochar can still be packaged on site there. And then the kilns are moved to the next site to be processed. No need for a facility. No need to be trucking the waste. If this is supposedly a climate initiative, how is having diesels running nonstop across the county? We're not even helping to clean up the woodland around Upper Lake. So they're running across the county. Why don't we look at what other states are doing and bring in the mobile kilns, process on site? You still get the biochar byproduct that can be sold, and then you move to the next site. It's a much more efficient process for doing this, and it reduces the impact on the community, and it reduces the potential for any sort of health concerns and environmental concerns, because the wood does not leave the site. And so I just urge that people consider other alternatives to having this site located next to the community, and look at what other states are doing. They've been doing it for over 10 years. Placer County just got a biochar grant, and they are partnering with Biochar Now out of Colorado, Loveland, Colorado, and they will be using the mobile kilns set up. Those kilns then are moved to the next site. So I urge the committee to consider other alternatives to having this facility in Upper Lake that doesn't require unnecessarily trucking all of this biomass across the county. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So public comment is officially closed, but I'll let you add a response to that.
Again, if I may respond. Kilns, by definition, use fire. They are burning the material. The reason there are exhaust controls, as the air quality Doug mentioned, is the fact that they are releasing into the atmosphere immediately chemicals. They're releasing carbon dioxide, they're releasing carbon monoxide, they're releasing methane. They're releasing all of those materials, all of those compounds, because they're burning the material. That's what a kiln does. Our objective here is not to produce biochar as the primary objective. It is a secondary or byproduct of the process. Our objective is to create the wood chip at the size we need to run multiple plants at other locations here in the county, the first of which would be our Red Hills location. So it's important to understand that that's the difference. We're not here to make biochar. Biochar is a secondary product that we certainly appreciate and will use as a soil amendment, hopefully here in the county, but there are other agricultural areas, particularly the Central Valley, that is wanting and desirous of this material as well. So it's important to understand the difference. We're here to generate wood chips. We're using the same technology that we would use at the Red Hills project, which your board has already approved, or commission has already approved a major use permit. It would be the same technology we would use for other locations. Where we would be there, the purpose is to generate energy, whereas the real income, not the production of the biochar.
All right. Thank you.
Questions with regards to the 1,000-foot limit?
Those questions were answered already. If you would like, I can have staff repeating again. All right, if you would like to go over those numbers one more time.
Yes, the side setbacks in that zoning district are 15 feet.
So you're saying you could put it 15 feet away from the house?
Public comment is closed. Yeah, so we are going to bring this back to the commission for discussion or action.
So I just have a question. This is going to be a leased agreement. Can you give us the parameters of that? There seemed to be a lot of conversation about that. What is the lease with whom, for the duration of what? And as part of the lease, since it's on prime agricultural land, that I'm understanding that's correct, is there any sort of requirement when the lease is up and the plant no longer is operating, will that be returned to its original condition?
Yes, that's part of the landscaping plan. That's a mitigation in initial study to put all the area back, with exception of the foundation for the large water tank. Everything would be put back to its natural state.
And what is the duration of lease, and with whom, and can we know the parameters of that?
It is with the county. It's with the Water Resources Flood District. So it's with the county, and I believe it's 10 years, 10 to 15 years, but
15, wasn't it?
15.
Commissioners, if I may clarify, the use you're being asked to approve here is not, you're not being asked to approve it as subject to the lease. So, right, so the use that you would be approving would be for the duration or the life of a use permit. So whether or not the county continues this particular lease agreement with this particular applicant, your approval permit will be available to anyone who uses that lot legally, as long as they meet the conditions of the permit. So even if this particular applicant may leave in the future, the county may lease it again, provided that the use permit is still an active good use permit, and the county may lease it again to somebody else who would be also allowed to use, and the county could also the county could anyway on their own use the property for this particular use, subject to the conditions and approvals that assuming your commission approves it today, that would be approved as part of the use permit.
Thank you. And is this designated prime agricultural land?
Yes, it is, and that's why we did the LISA on it, which is it's evaluation that the state recommends to evaluate whether agricultural land will be impacted, and it was found not to be impacted. And that attachment is, I can't remember what attachment that is to the initial study. Be at the top. And it's also attachment 5 to the staff report.
Additionally, if I may add, this property is within the Middle Creek Restoration Project. So that's why it may not be actively leased out for ag. It's part of a reclamation project that's been ongoing for a number of years to restore that land to its original wetland condition. And so historically, the county has leased out the land for agricultural use, but I can't speak to the Department of Water Resources and why they have not chosen to continue that, but they did enter into this lease agreement with Scotts Valley Energy Corporation for this particular use on this particular parcel.
So this use is compliant with the restoration?
Yes. I think it's one reason why the building is temporary in nature and the lease has a certain lifespan. So the Middle Creek Restoration Project is like moving slower than sludge, but it is still the county's goal to restore these lands to wetlands.
Thank you.
So I have a few comments I want to make. So listening and taking into everything into consideration, I'm going to make a few comments. One comment specific to tribal cultures, we've used charcoal, biochar for thousands of years, and various methods. So I don't see a risk in terms of emissions of toxins taken into consideration all the comments that were made, yeah, there is risk in everything associated, but I think the application has demonstrated all of those concerns are going to be mitigated. Another thing that always comes up, and I want to say this here so it's on the record, that when we talk about prime ag land, we don't ever talk about or include the tribal use of this land prior to settlers coming here. And part of what tribal people have done is prescribe burn to maintain the land and the beauty of the state of when the first immigrants showed up here. And so that should be included or at least acknowledged. And so the contribution of this landscape is something that was done prior to ag farmland, traditional farming being a practice here in this county. I just note that because it's always seems like it's left out of our history and our county and the contributions that were made from the original people that lived here. So I make that comment in that statement to make it known. I do feel the sometimes that in opposition we look for things to hold on to. I had spoken to a member of the Habet tribe who approached me before I received this packet and asked what I thought. I told him I couldn't make any comments. I haven't received the information. I'd previously received it. I haven't received no updated information and didn't make any comment to that member. He did say to me he was concerned that his tribe was being used as a opposition because of their preschool facility. And he wanted to clarify that that wasn't the case. And the county has entered into consultation with the Habet tribe of Upper Lake, and that consultation is documented, and it is what it is. I don't know what's in the consultation myself. So I think, again, trying to bring in other people and their concerns is a tactic. I want to hear your guys' specific concerns. Don't speak for people who can speak for themselves. And so I've heard those concerns today, and it doesn't raise a significant impact on me to want to vote this project down. And so with that, I think it's important to consider it is 15 years. If that's the potential for the lease and that's the extension, there's going to be, as Mr. Gerhardt said, another opportunity to comment about the specific emissions that it's going to have and those type of potential environmental issues that are being raised here. Environmental is always a concern to myself. For those of you that don't know, I live adjacent to the Sulphur Bank Mercury mine on the tribal lands of my tribe. And so it's always an issue that we have to deal with. And I don't feel like that is a major threat to derailing this project. I don't feel like there's going to be that type of, I guess, I need to be that scared of an environmental disaster happening. And so all the comments I've heard today are noted. I listened very carefully and heard everybody's comments, but it doesn't feel like to me that those issues are going to occur. So I wanted to say that on the record and in my comment there.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Hess.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to associate myself with Commissioner Brown's comments. And due to a variety of reasons, I've been speaking about this particular project a lot for the last year and a half. And as a concept, as a practice, I support it. I think it has a lot of potential for revenue generation in this county beyond just the tribe. It meets three of the five criteria for California's 2022 scoping plan for achieving carbon neutrality. And I think we have a bigger prize to keep our eyes on, as one of the people who spoke from the Zoom room mentioned, and said the similar things at our first hearing on this. I'm prepared to support this project today.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Any closing statements from the commission before we take this, before we take action on this item? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll entertain that motion. I move that the Planning Commission find that the potential impacts associated with this project can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration, IS 21-07, submitted by, this is the wrong, let me get back to the other one. I have a tab open from the previous. Thank you. I have the sample motion right here in the back.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what needs to be read. You'll find it right here. Yep, okay, thank you. So I move that the Planning Commission find, based on initial study 23-10 for major use permit UP 23-05 as applied for by Scotts Valley Band of Homo Indians will not have a significant effect on the environment, and therefore a mitigated negative declaration shall be adopted with the findings listed in the staff report dated December 12, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I further move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit UP 23-05 applied by Scotts Valley Band of Homo Indians on property located at 755 East State Highway 20, Upper Lake, California, APN 004-010-04 does meet the requirements of Article 8 of the Lake County Municipal Zoning Ordinance and grant the major use permit subject to the conditions and with the findings listed in the staff report dated December 12, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Note, the applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides for a 7-day calendar day appeal period. If there is a disagreement with the Planning Commission, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The applicable form and applicable fee, the appropriate forms and applicable fee must be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on or before the 7th calendar day following the Commission's final determination. Thank you. And moving along to our item 6C, our 9:35 a.m. public hearing, consideration of proposed major use permit UP 20-14 and mitigated negative declaration IS 20-16 for commercial cannabis cultivation of 2 A-type 3B licenses for 37,446 square feet of mixed light canopy within a 48,529 square foot cultivation area, and type 13 distributor, self-distribution, transport only license. The applicant is Nina Star, LLC / Nina Bogdanova. Location is 23180 Shady Grove Road in Middletown, APN 014-006-16.
Hello again, Commissioners. Mary Claiborne, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. Today for your consideration is UP 20-14, IS 20-16, Nina Star Farms. And I believe the applicant or applicant's consultant is present in the Zoom room. And there have been green sheet items received for this project. An additional green sheet items received for this project.
Thank you, Ruby.
Did you want to take a moment to look at those, or did you like me to continue? Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a couple minutes to look over this letter.
We just received it as well.
And I'm prepared to continue if we need more time. All right, so we will continue with the staff report. Thank you, Mary.
The major use permit for commercial cannabis cultivation includes 2 A-type 3B licenses for 37,446 square feet of mixed light canopy within a 48,529 square foot cultivation area and a Type 13 distribution self-transport only license. The parcel size is approximately 47.36 acres. The site is located approximately 2 miles north of the Lake Napa County line and approximately 1.5 miles south of the Middletown Community Growth Boundary. The zoning designations for this site, general planned, is rural lands, agriculture, resource conservation. The base zoning for this site is split zoning. That is rural lands, agriculture, floodway fringe combining district, floodway combining district, scenic combining district, and waterway combining district. The project site is located on the agriculture portion of the parcel. It is within the Lower Lake Planning Area in Supervisorial District 1. The site is accessed from a native dirt and gravel driveway that branches to the east of Shady Grove Road, a county-maintained road. This is parallel to Highway 29 in Middletown. Topography consists of rolling grassland with slopes between 2 and 10% in the west and 10 to 20% in the east. Several known water courses and potential wetlands, including St. Helena Creek, a Class 1 perennial water course, 1 Class 2 water course, and several Class 3 water courses are located on the project parcel. Historical uses of the site include animal husbandry and grazing. Existing land uses and improvements on the project parcel include a residence, a residential accessory structure, permitted on-site groundwater wells, a permitted septic system, PG&E utilities, security gate, a 5,000-gallon steel water tank, 14-foot interior access road, a triple barrel culvert, and 12 shipping containers for cultivation infrastructure storage. The project scope consists of 37,446 square feet of mixed light commercial cannabis canopy, 5 90 by 60 greenhouses, 1 90 by 103 foot greenhouse for immature plant propagation, 2 30 by 103 foot greenhouses, a 5,400 square foot processing facility equipped with an ADA compliant restroom, 1 120 square foot storage shed, widening existing access roadway to 20 feet wide access driveway from Shady Grove Road, 4 employee parking spaces, including 1 ADA compliant space, 3 5,000-gallon water storage tanks equipped with 2.5-inch couplings for a quick connect for the fire district's ability to connect to that water tank. A steel fiberglass water storage tank also equipped with the 2.5-inch coupling. A Knox box for emergency response access, and perimeter fencing for the security purposes and security cameras.
Ms. Klebon?
Yes.
I've seen the reference to 12 shipping containers that would be used for something called cultivation infrastructure storage. I don't really know what that means, but we'll get into that in a sec. But where, I haven't been able in my readings of anything to find where are those shipping containers located?
So those shipping containers are located currently on the footprint of the right-hand side of the screen where the cultivation area is. What had happened was the applicant had purchased all of the greenhouse materials from an unknown location. I believe it was a farm, a prior farm, and they're storing those materials on site. They are inside of shipping containers and not currently being utilized. They have not been erected.
They have not been erected, meaning?
No, the greenhouse materials that are stored inside of the shipping containers.
So are they going away after the?
That is the intention. They're only on site to store the proposed cultivation construction materials.
So is that a condition of approval that those shipping containers would be removed once the?
That has not been added as a condition of approval. It's my understanding that they are not going to be used, but we can speak to the applicant and the applicant's consultant following the presentation to determine what their proposed future use is.
Yeah, I'm never a big, for 8 years I've been a whiny about shipping containers on ag land and that kind of thing. And
absolutely.
I'd like to know that those in fact will be removed once that so-called infrastructure is taken out of them.
Okay. Regulations reviewed for compliance include the Lake County General Plan, the Middletown Area Plan, Lake County Zoning Ordinance, and state regulations. The project analysis also includes the Lake County General Plan. The policies were reviewed, no conflicting policies within the general plan. However, there are no specific policies addressing commercial cannabis cultivation within the general plan. The goals and policies reviewed include economic development, water resources, and land use. The cultivation and all associated structures will occur on relatively flat land, so there will not be a high erosion hazard. The site will be utilized to cultivate cannabis, which is similar to an agricultural use. The land will not be converted to a non-agricultural use. The property gate will be secured with a heavy-duty chain, commercial padlock, and Knox box to allow for 24/7 access for emergency services. The Lake County Zoning Ordinance was reviewed for project analysis, and in that review was Article 5, the Agricultural District, Article 7, Rural Lands District, Article 27, Uses Generally Permitted, Article 34, Scenic Combining District, Article 35, Floodway Combining District, Article 36, Floodway Fringe Combining District, and Article 37, Waterway Combining District. Notification of the project was sent to local tribes on February 18th, 2020. Consultation was not requested by tribes, and tribal comments are attachment 10 to staff's report. The CEQA initial study found that the project could cause potential impacts to resources. These would include aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, noise, tribal cultural resources, utilities and services, and wildfire. A mitigated negative declaration is the proposed CEQA environmental determination for the project. All identified impacts can be reduced to less than significant with mitigation. Public comment period occurred from November 29th, 2023 to December 28th, 2023. These mitigations are outlined in staff's reports as attachments 2, draft conditions of approval, and attachment 4, draft initial study. A point of interest for this site is that there are several unnamed and one named watercourse on site. A Class 1 perennial reach of St. Helena Creek and riparian corridor divides the parcel flowing north through the middle of the property. The riparian corridor is well developed and stable. The unnamed seasonal Class 2 watercourse flows north through the western part of the parcel. Several Class 3 watercourses are also identified. On the western portion of the parcel, there are 2 existing stock ponds that are connected by a vegetative swale. There is some wetland vegetation surrounding the stock ponds and swale, according to the biological assessment. There have been 100-foot setbacks identified within the project site plans, which is attachment 1 to staff's report. The cultivation activities are limited to the existing disturbed areas on site and will observe all the required setbacks from the jurisdictional watercourses. There are no vernal pools or serpentine outcrops that possess a high likelihood of containing special status plant species in the proposed cultivation areas. There is no surface water diversion proposed for the on-site stock ponds. While the bridge crossing on St. Helena Creek provides access to the eastern side of the parcel, the project is accessed on the western side of the parcel via Shady Grove Road. So the project itself is on the other side of the parcel from the location of the Class 1 watercourse. Oh, additionally, a lake streambed alteration agreement had been applied for by the applicant, and an operation of law letter was issued by the CDFW for the culvert retrofitting for the triple barrel culvert on site. They will be replacing or repairing, dependent on what CDFW sees fit for that area. Public Resource Code sections 4290 and 4291 road standards shall be applied to this cultivation project due to the structures in which cultivation activities will occur. The internal gates and roadways are designed to meet the CAL FIRE requirements, including adequate road standards and width requirements for fire suppression access and a turnaround for emergency vehicles. The signage and building numbering, as well as a private water supply for reserves and emergency fire use utilizing steel or fiberglass water storage, and 100 feet of defensible space around all structures is required. An additional point of interest for this site is site maintenance. The project was applied for in February of 2020. At that time, staff visited the site, and again, staff visited the site on December 15th, 2023. There were several items noted for demolition and site cleanup. With that, the applicant worked closely with the Planning Division and the Building Safety Division and had applied for a demolition permit that resulted in the removal of an out-of-service hot tub, the proper removal of the electrical installation serving the hot tub, removal of 2 trailers by a waste hauling company, and clearing of garbage and rubbish from the site. The building permit that had been applied for was finalized by a building inspector on July 15th of this year, following verification of the site maintenance and demolition of the trailers. Oh, it's moving. Okay.
The chair's hitting it.
Is that, okay. We're just jumping all over the place. Okay. So an additional point of interest for this project is that there is a portion of the parcel located within the Scenic Combining District overlay. With that, the purpose of the district is to protect and enhance views of the scenic areas from the county's scenic highways and roadways for the benefit of local, residential, and resort development, the motoring public, and recreation-based economy of the county. The project itself has been designed for the cannabis cultivation ancillary structures to be constructed outside of the Scenic Combining District Scenic Corridor. For this project, a 500-foot setback from the roadway has been implemented, and you can see that on the illustration there. It's highlighted in yellow. This site plans, attachment 1, identify this setback from the scenic corridor. It should also be noted that staff has received a lot of public comment for the proximity of this location to the Welcome to Lake County sign. With that, the applicant has provided renderings of what the parcel could potentially look like should they put some vegetative screening in front of the structures. This is an option. It is not a requirement as it is out of the scenic corridor. However, it is something that the applicant has been willing to do because of the public concerns. Within 1 mile radius of the proposed project, there are 1 pending and 0 approved projects. And within a 3 mile radius of the proposed project, there are 2 pending and 4 approved projects. The environmental recommendations for this project are to adopt mitigated negative declaration initial study IS 20-16 for use permit 20-14 with findings found in the staff report. The major use permit recommendations are to approve use permit UP 20-14 with the proposed conditions of approval and with the findings found in the staff report. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have any questions from the commission?
I have a couple. On page 5 of the staff report, it makes a reference to PG&E connectivity that will be requested. And again, I understand that that can't be requested till a permit has been approved. But would there be generators in use until the PG&E connection was completed? Because that can sometime, the process can take 2 to 3 years.
Sure. So the site currently does have PG&E utility because of the existing residents on site. So it would be an electrical upgrade that they would be applying for with the Building Safety Division. So with that...
Not with the state.
Correct. So with that, emergency backup generators are an allowed use. However, that was not included in this older project application. I can't anticipate that they would not want to utilize that should there be power outages for their well to maintain a continuity of operations. However, that was not specified by the applicant.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we bring it for public comment? All right, so I'm going to open up public comment. If you wish to speak on this item, you have 3 minutes. Please state your first and last name at the podium. Thank you.
Charles Morse.
Could you try that one more time?
Charles Morse.
To the mic, yeah.
Santa Elena Creek United. We were a small organization. It was started in early 1993. Our founding, and so I've been basically passed the buck down the road. The concerns we have is that our properties were all subject to a lawsuit of $2 million by Solano County because the water that comes through our creek, it makes its way to Vacaville within 8 days, okay? And we've got a great deal of respect with the agreement we have with Solano County. They dropped the lawsuit against the residents. The residents were said, okay, you guys are good stewards, we'll let you off the hook and you don't have to do this. The problem we have here is you have a commercial property with a residence that is very easy to manipulate the water. And for us personally, you know, we know that on the other side of the Berryessa Dam, that a salmon can make its way from Travis Air Force Base in Sassoon all the way to there. It's always been our dream to be able to have those fish dropped off in our creek to grow and then be taken back to the other side so they can make their way to the ocean. Solano County, they have, you know, they've really been supportive towards us in the past. They've been very open to, you know, trying to help us. And, you know, it's in the spirit of Chief Solano, which is basically their county, you know, what they use as their example, that we would like to see a fish make its way from Santa Elena Creek down. The current user has had violations. They've been cited by the Department of Fish and Game, and the neighbors, they're scared of them. They're scared and they're intimidated by them. As far as the Math Town Hall, the former director of the Matt Town Hall, the leader of the Matt Town Hall, was physically assaulted by the owner of this property. It goes deeper than I would like to say, I want to be. I know that when it goes past my property, I give it everything we can. We've had to fight this battle before. We've had people who've pulled off the creek and had properties. We've had situations where one of the agreements we have with Solano County is we don't divide up our property, okay? And that is that if I decide I want to make two parcels out of my property, there is no water in this area. Let's don't fool ourselves. I mean, if you're going to be pulling, you're going to be stealing from the creek no matter what. But we're not allowed to split our property. Sure, we can have grandma's house there, but if we split the property and we're still pulling from the creek, we lose our riparian rights. And this goes back to the early 1800s under General Vallejo and Chief Solano. So I personally feel that we are much more unique than the rest of Lake County. And I know there's cases in Lake County where if you have a restaurant in Nice, you can get a letter from Yolo County and they'll tell you to turn the water off.
Have gone off the timers, but I'll let you conclude your comment if you wish to conclude.
My point is basically we can't afford to have this kind of situation to go on. It will be manipulated and we will lose it. And having grown up on Milliken Creek down in Napa County, I've seen it get wiped out. The steelhead and the salmon are gone. I think we're at a turning point where we can actually have something beautiful come back to our county than lose. So I ask for a special exception along the Santa Elena Creek that this stops. We've been fighting guerrilla growers for years and years and years on that creek. And it's up to Lake County. If they want to give us help, we'll go to Solano County if we don't. That's all I got.
Thank you for your comment. If you wish to speak, you can come to the podium and state your first and last name.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to speak on this. Maria Turner, I'm not sure who that is. I'm sorry. My name is Elizabeth Kershaw, and I live across the street from this proposed project. I live on West Road, directly across. I understand there's been several emails in addition to the green one that you've gotten from several people in opposition, and it was sent to Maria Turner, and it has to do with lots of information on water and biological studies and hydrology studies and CEQA and a lot of other things that are way above my head. I don't know anything about things like that. What I do know is that I've lived at that house for 20 years and I have a beautiful view out my back door, and I know that it's very common for people to say not in my backyard. I get it. I understand that. If I'm a landowner, I want to be able to do with what is legal to do, but when it starts affecting people around, there are neighbors on either side of this proposed, directly attached to their dirt road, right next to them, that are in opposition. And I don't think that your staff report has really done enough homework to find out what impact this is going to have on the neighboring properties. This, of course, you had it in one picture, is the Welcome to Lake County sign. This is the first thing you see on 29 coming down the hill from Mount St. Helena into the beautiful valley. This is welcoming. The big, huge building that was proposed, and there's pictures in your thing, is going to completely be a monstrosity. If you're only talking about 100 feet and they want to go fight, you can see, it's a flat area, you can see for 1,000 miles. It's going to be huge, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be odor nuisance. It's going to be, I have a study from Caltrans that says there's 8,800 cars a day that passes by the scenic corridor, and this is not going to be a beautiful, welcoming to Lake County. It's going to be a monstrosity. Depending on the price of what cannabis sells for, the amount of profit margin may flux, And a lot of it has to do with landscaping and how well you take care of the property. I mean, a lot of times you consider a hoop tent to be a greenhouse. Sometimes a greenhouse is not a hoop tent. There's plastic, there's wind that blows, it tears, fencing gets distorted. They built a bunch of trees around it. They planted hundreds and hundreds of trees around the project. All of them are dead, died within, 6 months of them putting it in. I don't know if they didn't have enough water. I'm not sure, but they're dead. So the idea of hiding it to be aesthetically pretty, you cannot get by to see something as big as what the artist's design are and not see the first thing. I'd like to pass out a couple photographs. And these are of containers. In fact, if you can give one to every one of them. Says there's only 12 Conex containers. There's 23 of them. There's a letter to Maria from the neighbor next door that talks about calling in Fish and Game because they saw them pulling directly from the creek with pumps and they were told not to. I firsthand saw these growers bring in extremely heavy equipment for weeks on end, moving tons of dirt and redirecting a natural waterway that goes to St. Helena Creek so that it would be on the side of the property instead of right down the middle. They were red tagged. I called code enforcement. I told them about it. They showed up a couple days later with about 5 cars. They put a red tag on them and told them to stop doing that. In the middle of the night for the next 3 nights, I saw them. I have video of them.
Sorry to interrupt, but the 3 minutes is up. If you would like to conclude your comment.
Say it again?
Your 3 minutes are up, but I can let you conclude a comment if you wish.
Okay.
My name is Brenda Ornelas, and I live across Highway 29, just straight across from this project, and I'm willing to give my neighbor, Beth, my 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
The adjacent property that they're farming together, and you'll see that there's another about 25 to 30 Conex containers. And here's the aerial view, and you can see how close those containers are to the St. Helena Creek. So my concern is they are not showing honest feedback on following laws and regulations. Little concern for their neighbors. The neighbors are intimidated. There is a letter that was sent to Maria this morning from the McDowells that live adjacent to it, and she also reiterates the idea of that they are in a flood zone, and where those containers are, they're very close to being to the edge. But the biggest thing is water. Water. I have studies, I have packets of papers here that talk about the potential for devaluing of our properties because of odor. Sonoma County has an article that was recently put in that talked about anything within a quarter mile to a half a mile from a large grow, there's about a 15% decrease in property values. Also on top of that, there is an article that was just recently done in June from the Los Angeles Times about how dirty is our weed, and they talk about the pesticides and the toxic materials that are in the final product, that even though there's laws saying you're not supposed to use this, as you mentioned before, Supervisor Hess, I'm concerned that they are not going to follow. And unfortunately, Lake County doesn't have enough inspectors to be able to police them. And once it's been approved, those waterways, that sensitive waterways, people are drinking this water. I mean, all along, all the way before it even gets to Lake Berryessa. So let alone Solano County's interest, I mean Lake County in general. I can sit out in my front yard and I can see golden eagles fly right there. And I just would like you to try and put yourself in our shoes. If you live next to it, would you like to have this in your backyard? I would hope that you would reconsider or postpone the decision until all of the information. Most of the neighbors in the area did not even know this was taking place. The 2 advisory committees that are involved in this, or should be involved and want to be, when they just found out when I called them day before yesterday, was called CAP and also Math Group. And these are all local people groups of citizens that want to be able to chime in on whether or not this goes through. So if you would please consider waiting till we get proper evaluation or even second opinions on hydrology, on biological studies. We felt like they were not thorough enough to really take into account how much it would be affecting Lake County. And Lake County is a beautiful place. And to see it potentially be damaged, I wish you'd just really, really take that to heart and postpone until there's more information on this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Here's the sign, by the way.
Commissioner Chavez, if I could, just while we're getting ready for the next public speaker, my normal process is when I do receive public input, I forward it to our Planning Commission clerk. So I don't see an email from this morning, but that is my standard practice. I usually will also reply to whoever sent the email thanking them and letting them know that we've added it to the public record. Oh, and one last thing. CAP, as was referred to by the last speaker, is not an advisory board. It is it's a group of members of the public who've come together sort of as a grassroots coalition to give public input.
Good afternoon. My name is Nanette DeDonato, and I am speaking on behalf of the residents and neighbors of St. Helena Creek, in which I live, south of town in Middletown, specifically south of Twin Pine Casino and the trailer park. I'm on the math board in Middletown, and we were not given notice of this hearing. I will bring it up in tonight's meeting, and hopefully further discussions will happen from there. One thing I want to point out, and this is from the State Water Board, because I had a litigation going on, and we, all along the creek, are on what's called seep wells, and that means that the creek flows into our wells. So when there's no water in the creek, there's no water in our wells, and we have to import water. St. Helena Creek is our only source of water, and there are about 20 families that live north of the proposed cannabis grow. They have run out of water for basic needs many times in the last few years. I am concerned that the grow will take even more water from these families. The chemicals used in cultivation of cannabis, forgive me if I say it wrong, organophosphates, pyrethroids, and carbamates, to name a few, will likely run off into the creek, which then feeds into Lake Berryessa, another important water source. In the last 2 winters, the steelhead, wet winters that we've had, the steelhead and river otters have returned after 10 years, and we want them to stay and not be contaminated with runoff of the chemicals. Thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any hands in the Zoom room? No hands in the Zoom room, and I believe everyone spoke in chambers that wish to speak. Oh, we have the applicant on Zoom. You will get them unmuted.
Good afternoon.
Hi, we can hear you.
Oh, good. My name is Nevelina Bogdanova, and I want to thank, first of all of you for taking the time to look into my project. And I would love to answer one of the questions regarding the shipping containers that are on the project. However, they're the materials to build. They're not to be there forever. As soon as we're done, everything, it's going to go away. It's not going to stay there.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add to your comment?
And we bought the property 4 years ago. We never lived there. And those accusations about the water, they're just lies. We never used anything out of out of the ordinary. This is just crazy that, we've been accused that we're getting water from the river and we don't live there. We're not there. So I don't know how people are coming into conclusions that we're using the water from the creek.
You still have about a minute left in your comment if you wish to state any more comments.
No.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. We do have someone in chambers, yeah, that wish to speak. And you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you again. This is Elizabeth Kershaw. I was hoping that maybe the committee could do some investigating to verify what the landowner directly on either side of this have claimed that they have talked to Fish and Game, and Fish and Game came out and cited them for having a pump in the creek. That is in an email that Diane and Larry McDowell sent to you, Maria. They also sent one previously in opposition to this. This is the neighbor that's touching their property. And it was not in the package when we went in and opened up all the comments from the public. Their opposition was not in that list, and neither was the letter from Brenda Carter in opposition, who lives directly across the street. It was not in your packet. Doesn't mean you may have it. It just wasn't in the stuff that the public could see. They did have some comments from people that lived in Kelseyville that have nothing to do with our area, don't know the neighborhood, and they were commenting on this. So I have a feeling that your compliance to regulatory, because I personally saw heavy equipment moving dirt, and there should be something in if you guys did some investigating with the code enforcement of the phone call that I made, and you guys came out and put a red tag. So obviously there is some things going on that don't measure up to this glowing report that was presented this morning. We are very mistrusting with what was going on, and so we just would like to make sure that you guys have all the information in front of you to verify that the minute it's approved, what's going to keep them from not adhering to the laws and regulations. If there's anything written in your application that says there will be no Conex containers there, that would be helpful, maybe. I think the idea of its proximity and its sensitive area to the waterways and natural seasonal waterways is really, really important for us to really further investigate. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Could we also verify if there are any violations on the property? Because that would...
There are 2 records of code enforcement complaints being filed on this subject property, and those complaints have been closed.
Okay, so they've been addressed and corrected?
Yes, according to our permitting system.
Okay. Sir, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have one alibi.
We'll do state your first and last name again.
Charles Morse.
Thank you.
I have one alibi, and that is the fact that since the fires in Hillsburg, that whole creek has been just impacted by huge amounts of wildlife. On one camera alone, we found 13 different bears coming through that creek. It's so vital to the survival. We've literally had bears come all the way into Middletown, and so until these guys get what they need to go back where they came from, taking any more from this whole area, and there's no water. You've got to go down 1,200 feet. The studies going back to 1978 say that you got to go down 1,300 feet to find water, and then it's not even good water. It's very full of arsenic and all kinds of other stuff. And I have those charts if you want to go that deep, but to sustain a large grow like that on that land is just not possible. Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. We do have, I believe, the applicants raising their hand on Zoom. Yeah, we can let her speak.
I would like to talk about the red flag violations that you guys are mentioning. Our red flags actually are not a violation for anything we put up. The property record do not date back far enough to include building permits for the 2 barn structures that have been on the property since it was a walnut farm. by the previous owners. We actually had planners help us try to backdate it for possible records, but there were no records on it. Since those structures were never proposed to the part of the project, we demoed them. But again, that only happened this year because of the prior years of planners said that it could be in condition of approval.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
I have another comment, Nanette Daytonato. If you don't
Can we
live
do a
on this
first and last-
property.
First and last name again?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nanette Daytonato.
Thank you.
I signed in. If you don't live on this property, then you have no idea what's going on, how all of the neighbors have worked together since the 80s or beyond to keep our rural lifestyle alive. And if you don't even live there, you have no idea. You have no contact with any of us. You're not friendly with us, and you're just coming in and trying to push us out of the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go back and go over this. The head of math, his name was Fletcher Thornton.
First and last name again, sorry.
Charles Morse.
Thank you.
The head of math at the time, when she came to the meeting, was a guy named Fletcher Thornton. And he said she physically assaulted him while she was there. So if she's not committed to the community and she feels that she can come in and push around the locals, it's only going to create an even worse situation in the future. And I know that her neighbors around her are intimidated and afraid of the people who work for her. And I know enough Fish and Game people to know that they're afraid to go on certain properties when this kind of character comes around. I personally, I think that the creek is the most important thing we have. It's one of the few diamonds left in Lake County that hasn't burned. And so we really have to err on the side of preserving something beautiful that can only get more beautiful based on what we're seeing in the Native American community with dams going down in places like that, fish coming to places that they haven't been in 100 years. And I really would like to see that this be our only outlet to the Pacific Ocean that we have in this Lake County, because we are a landlocked county. And this little creek is one of the diamonds that could really make us something better than we've been in over 100 years. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
If I might, I found an email that was received this morning at 9:09, so I don't usually do the forwarding that I do before the meeting, during the meeting, but I'd be happy to read it into the record if you like.
Sure.
It's from Denise McDowell, Deer Lake County Planning Department. As a 50-year resident, or 50-plus year resident of Lake County, I am writing in protest of the proposed cannabis farm that will border my property at 23040 Shady Grove Road, Middletown. I have serious concerns regarding the integrity of St. Helena Creek, which borders my property, as well as the proposed cannabis farm. Have all of the new requirements put in place by California State in January of 2024 been met? What protections will ensure that herbicides and pesticides will not contaminate the creek? At this time, there are steelhead in the creek. The 23 Connex containers sit in the floodplain. The well they have will deplete the aquifer, which is fragile due to inconsistent rainfall amounts. We residents south of Twin Pines are dependent on wells for our water supply. Our residential use well ran dry for 3 years in a row, costing us thousands to have water delivered. Contamination of soil is also an issue. I'm also very concerned about air quality. My senior citizen husband has chronic asthma, which will be exacerbated by exposure to the noxious odors that we will experience. Shady Grove Road is in a terrible state of disrepair that frequent commercial trucks will destroy all the more. The owners of this property have previously been cited for illegally diverting a drainage ditch under Highway 29 for their own purposes and for pumping directly out of the creek to water the 800-plus trees they planted that have since died. It will no doubt have a negative effect on our property values as well. I urge you to postpone voting to give this cannabis farm a permit until you can assure that it will not be detrimental to neighborhood property owners. Denise McDowell.
Thank you, Director. So seeing as there are no more public comments, I'm going to close public input and bring it back to the commission for discussion or action.
This is one of many, many applications now that I've looked at and reviewed, and I don't find it fully flawed, but I do have two concerns. One is the rosy renderings of what the plant might look like and the trees to obscure other things. These renderings are all drawn with mature trees. As planted, those trees will be 4 feet tall, and who knows how many years it will take for those trees to reach maturity and truly shield the facility from Highway 29. I live in South County, and it just seems so incongruent to me that we would have this kind of a grow right next to the Welcome to Lake County sign. It is our gateway to the Southern County, from the Southern County, and I can't square in my head the notion of having that right next to the Welcome to Lake County sign. If this were in another location, I don't think I'd object at all to the project, but under the circumstances with the proposed renderings, which don't satisfy me because I don't think you can ever achieve that look, and having it so close to entrance to the county, I'm reluctant to support it at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Any more comments?
I have some concerns about the water issue and St. Helena Creek. I think that there just needs to be a lot more investigation into that. And certainly if you have verification that illegal pumping has been done, I think that needs to be shared with the county. And you say you had Fish and Game out, and so that. Neighbor McDowell's next door did. Okay, so they came out and investigated some issues out there. So there must be some verification of that action. So that should be shared as well. If I mean, we didn't have it in our packet, but that's information that we need, that the current owner has been not following the rules for sure. So I think there needs to be a lot more investigation before I can consider supporting this.
Thank you for your comment.
I think too, I'm leaning more towards continuance that was brought up by some comments in the community, from the community. But as I'm sitting here and thinking over the project packet, the application, the comments, I'm not sure if a continuation will mitigate any other concerns that we're talking about or have been expressed. I always try to look for a solution, and I can't find one or see one at this moment, not to say that that can't happen. I also frequent the Sonoma County area, travel through all of the roadways coming into Lake County, and I always think about, as a community member, having ancestry ties to this land, what do we represent? And when I come into the community from Highway 20, 29, I think about what do we represent to the outsiders of Lake County. And I have trouble with the rendering as well, and that being kind of the brand that's being going to be associated with our county. So that does trouble me. I still would be open to a continuance, but I would have to have that in association with the colleagues, the Planning Commission, to want to move forward. If not, I can support the position of not supporting this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Yeah, there's quite a bit of concerns, and I agree with you on your comments regarding that a continuance wouldn't necessarily fix a lot of the concerns that have been brought up. I believe there will continue to be issues. for this project moving forward, and a lot of factors that just it's about location and also collaboration with neighbors. I believe that's one of the main things in any project. That's the first thing that you have to look into, and it looks like that wasn't done in this case. So there's just that compatibility just doesn't seem to really work for this project. Location, community, and just the aspect. I mean, the project sounds like a lot of the projects that we hear in the commission, but it's just the time and place just kind of don't, and in my mind, don't seem to really fit in. So I would also lean towards denial for the project, and I believe we can come to a conclusion today if we take action on the project. And if there's no more comments or discussion, I'll be waiting for a motion.
What I'm hearing, and I appreciate my colleagues' input, is that while a continuance is an option, it's not necessarily the kind of pause or delay that's going to resolve anything or add much more to the body of knowledge that we have. So if I'm reading things correctly, and a continuance is the less effective option, I'm prepared to offer, entertain two motions right now. Okay. I move that the Planning Commission find that the potential impacts associated with this project cannot be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration IS 20-16 submitted by Nina Star Farms, Nina Star LLC, for the property located at 23180 Shady Grove Road, Middletown, APN 014-00616, will have a significant effect on the environment, and that the Planning Commission not adopt initial study IS 2016 with the findings listed in the staff report dated October 24, 24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I further move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit UP 20-14 applied for by Nina Star Farms, Nina Star LLC, on property located at 231180 Shady Grove Road, Middletown, APN 014-00616, does not meet the requirements of Section 51.4 and Article 27 of the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, and that the major use permit not be granted based on the findings and subject to the conditions included in the staff report dated December 12, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Note, the applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides for a 7-day calendar day appeal period. If there's a disagreement with the Planning Commission, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The appropriate forms and applicable fee must be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on or before the 7th day following the Planning Commission's decision on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bless you.
Yep. And moving on to our next item, item 7, non-timed items. Seeing none, department update.
Thank you. I have 2 items for the department update. First, First, we do have an upcoming Planning Commissioners Academy, March 5th through 7th. This is going to be put on by the League of California Cities, so this is a good one that I think would be very valuable for our commissioners. I am going to give you a packet with information. I don't think their exact classes have come in yet, but it would be great for all commissioners to attend, especially the new ones. And additionally, we're checking to make sure we have funding in the budget, because it would be great if you'd stay out there where the meeting is going to be held, because in my experience, the networking that you get from meeting and talking to other planning commissioners is extremely valuable. So we'll hand those out.
When you say out there where?
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah. It's at the Hyatt Regency Sonoma in Santa Rosa. the League of California Cities, I can personally vouch for the quality of their training opportunities. Very helpful. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to be led by Institute for Local Government, which is the same organization that produces the Planning Commissioner's Handbook. Secondly, I do have a plaque. I'd like to commemorate our outgoing Planning Commissioner, John Hess from District 1. It has been a huge honor, privilege, and beneficial experience working with Mr. Hess for the last few years. He demands excellence in the quality of our staff reports. He's pragmatic. I've appreciated his understanding of governmental processes and how things work together, and his willingness to make hard decisions, both in support of what staff recommends and against, with good reasons. It'll be super hard to fill this position, and so I think you'll all join me in appreciating him.
Thank you, John.
Very nice.
Not the best time for making comments, but believe it or not, I've loved every minute of the crazy stuff. Thank you to my colleagues.
Thank you, John.
You will be missed. And then, additionally,
Can I add something before?
please, that would be great.
I definitely want to thank you, John, for all the experience, the leadership you brought to the commission, your commitment, your ethics, and all areas of this part of the commission. I respect you. I look to you as a leader, regardless if you're an elected official or not. You're a leader of this community, and I wanted to acknowledge you as well. I'm thankful that Maria took the time to do this. We always have an opportunity to grow, and sometimes that growing is something that we all have to be comfortable with. And as a lifelong resident of Lake County, and I'm looking big picture in terms of our history, it's been a struggle to grow. And so when I see opportunities for growth, I embrace them. And there's still plenty of work to do. There's still plenty of work for all of us to do, even outside of this capacity. And so I want to thank you for everything you've offered. I've always found your input critical on both sides, for and against, always looking for solutions. And I like to be a person of solutions as well. And so I want to thank you for that dedication and that leadership you extend to us as a commissioner. And it's going to be greatly missed. And my hope is, and I said this when one of the previous commissioners left, who was here for quite a few years, please stay involved. And he was like, I'm done with this. And so my hope is that you will continue to follow and provide feedback and comments to anything that's happening, because it'll be well respected. And I look forward to what your venture is after this. And I would love to stay in contact with you. And as you take this new journey, doesn't mean you have to go. I want you to stay around and continue to give everything you have to make our community better. So thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
And anyone else, feel free to help me with this department update.
Yeah, just a few words for John. Since I joined the Planning Commission, John was there, and he was that leader. I saw leadership in him, and I saw a lot of wisdom, and it made me a lot more confident in being here in the Planning Commission as well. So thank you, John, for being a part of of my Planning Commission career.
Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Hess. So I just wanted to say that I have learned a tremendous amount that's invaluable. The information that you have provided the overview of projects. As planners, sometimes we get stuck and we can't get past certain issues. And then you come in with this great overview of, well, this is this and this is why. And it's a redirection and it's an effort that I would not have been able to notice in some of my projects had you not been able to provide that insight. I'm going to miss you terribly, as well as the rest of the staff. We are so grateful for the opportunity that we've had with you and look forward to seeing what you do in your future. Thank you for your time with us.
I'll echo that and everything else that everyone said. When I reflect on my time previously in 2017 and then coming back to the county, I was really happy to still see you on the commission, serving our community. And truthfully, have just made us all better planners for everything that you do catch in the perspective, as Mary and everyone else has noted, even when we're in the hot seat and are feeling a little uncomfy sometimes. It really has made us better planners. So thank you for that. We'll miss you.
High praise.
Anyone from the public, the gallery?
I would like to say, John, I'm going to miss you. I have watched you over the last 8 years mentor, and you do it with just such integrity, and it's an inspiration. And thank you.
Yeah, lots of dittos are coming from the gallery here, so thank you so much, Commissioner Hess.
Very nice send-off. I really do truly appreciate it. Everything all of you do.
You have made a significant positive impact on our community with your time. And now that we've made him cry, I'm done with my department update. I want to thank everybody, and we'll hand out those academies as soon as we adjourn.
We adjourn the meeting at 12:51. Thank you.